but today is your special day. Happy birthday, happy birthday. It's your birthday. Whoa, 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 it's your birthday. Talking about it's your birthday. And today is yours.
Welcome, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, ladies and gents. Today is the one special person's birthday or happy life affirmation day. A brother who is now a righteous ancestor, the one and only Muhammad Ali, aka the greatest, was born January 17th. And today is his day because Capricorns are born to rule. January 15th was also Michael King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Michael was his original name. A lot of y'all don't know that. His family called him Michael. His mama named him Michael. I'm gonna call him Michael. but Capricorns are unique people. They born to rule, and it's their right to rule. Divinely inspired, motivated, and truly, in the words of Duke Ellington, beyond category. Dr. King and Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali, the greatest. He was born January 17th. And welcome to We All Be Family. Yeah, I see I got my Malcolm X shirts and Ali shirts. I still remember the time I found out about him passing away, the great one. Actually, I was coming home from a Cozumel, Mexico, for a wedding. It was a destination wedding. I was coming, not my wedding, And the sister that I, went to the wedding with, she's happily married and got a son and doing her thing. She's actually a good woman. She was a Capricorn. It's interesting about Capricorns. Really, Capricorns and Tauruses go together. Case in point, Dr. King, he was a Capricorn, but guess what Coretta's zodiac was? She was a Taurus. Taurus, man, we are the manifestors of the zodiac, man. You want to get something done? Holler at a Taurus. We know how to get stuff done. Think about April is Jazz Appreciation Month. It's National Jazz Appreciation Month. I guess it's International Jazz Appreciation Month now. But a lot of the great jazz geniuses were born in the month of April. Two of my favorites, for example, Duke Ellington, We Love You Madly. He was born April 29th, 1899. Then you got Charles Mingus. I love Mingus. He was born April 22nd in 1922. So, Tauruses and Capricorns, we go together. It just had been working out with me. I know some Capricorns ain't been working out for me so far, but like if it wasn't for Coretta stubbornness, y'all tell Tauruses are stubborn. Now we're persistent. We don't give up easily. If it wasn't for Coretta, there would be no Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Coretta pushed for that. I remember I went to the King Center down in Atlanta. Bobby Dick Gregory, I was talking about how black folks go crazy all over going to Disney World. But a lot of times, international people, they really pay homage to Dr. King's legacy. They go out their way, coming from Japan and Europe, to visit King's tomb, which also includes Coretta. But Coretta was pushing for a King Center just barely after Dr. King was dropped dead in Memphis. She was already working on being the legacy bearer and gatekeeper and flame bearer of his legacy. You had people in his inner circle was telling Coretta, just move on, Coretta. Forget about King. Just saying like, hey, he's dead. May he rest in peace. Keep it moving. But Coretta said, hell no, I won't let go. Because she lost a lot when she lost MLK. MLK was just 39 years young when he was taken away from this life, from his family. This man had a young family, left a young widow, but Coretta held steadfast to honoring her man. And then, go from 1968 to the early 80s, and guess who makes Dr. King's birthday a federal holiday? It's Ronald Reagan, of all people. Yeah, that Ronald Reagan, Republican, the one who announced his nomination at the Neshoba County Fair back in 1980. The same Neshoba County where they killed them 3 civil rights workers, Michael Swerner, James Chaney, and Andrew Goodman. Mississippi burning case. See, we try to put things in historical context. I'm doing a movie review. I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to make a case in point. Politics make for strange bedfellows. Coretta pushed for that King holiday. It took a Republican who announced his nomination at a place like that to make it a law. Reagan was a Democrat at one point. He famously said that he voted for FDR 4 times, became Republican, became governor of California. He's the reason why he's the father of student loan debt, as far as I'm concerned, because you took public institutions in California of higher learning and made them unaffordable for the average citizen. Judge Joe Brown, he's from LA. He sounds like he's from Tennessee in the South. He lived there long enough. It's like that movie, what do they call that movie? Gone, Baby Gone. Like a Casey Affleck movie set in Boston with Morgan Freeman. All-star cast, ensemble cast. And one of the characters, what's that guy name? He plays in a lot of movies. But he was from Louisiana originally. But he lived in Boston for a long time. And so Casey Affleck cares and said, "You're not even from here." We say, "I've been living here longer than you've been alive, though, son. I've been living in Boston longer than you've been alive. So really, I'm from here too. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana. I lived a long time in Louisiana. I'm born there, but I've been living a long time in Boston." So it's like one of those things. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But get back to Coretta. She didn't stop from 1968 on being a legacy bearer for King. And she died of lung cancer under suspect circumstances in Mexico. Coretta didn't even smoke. But like Baba Dick Gregory told us, your emotional state causes dis-ease in your body. Your emotional state can cause dis-ease in your body. See, when you have lung cancer, it's not a sign of you always just smoking tobacco or whatever. It's also a sign of grief. Grief can cause lung cancer. Think about Superman, Christopher Reeve's wife. She passed away from lung cancer. And a lot of her friends and family was shocked because she never smoked. But she still was grieving her husband, Christopher Reeves. So that grief caused her to get sick in the body and caused her to develop, I guess, lung cancer. Just like, Coretta. Coretta was eating raw food when she died. She was even eating cooked or processed foods. She was living healthy. I mean, Dick Gregory was one of her health advisors in so many ways. Dick Gregory helped so many people. It was ridiculous. Dick Gregory helped Muhammad Ali. Helped a lot of people, man. It need to be a movie about Dick Gregory. Really, it should be like a limited series. We talk about the many lives of Baba Dick Gregory. And we're going to talk about Baba Dick Gregory connection with Malcolm X. He's going to be speaking from the grave. I got a lot of interviews, a lot of hours of tape of Dick Gregory talking about Malcolm X and other things. And especially in light of this movie that came out One Night in Miami. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm not going to really be a spoiler for you because we all know what happened to Malcolm and Muhammad Ali and Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown is the only one still left. I would love to interview Jim Brown and get his thoughts on the movie, on the play, and what his thoughts, because it's fictionalized, y'all. Y'all keep on thinking this the gospel truth is a fictional treatment of an actual historical event, which did happen. Cassius did fight, who became known Muhammad Ali. He did fight Sonny Liston, I believe, February 25th, 1964. So the movie is the aftermath of him winning that fight, one of the greatest upsets in sports history. He was not who we know as Muhammad Ali. He still was using Cassius Clay. He haven't came out to the world yet as a black Muslim, but Malcolm was his spiritual advisor. Malcolm was on the ins and outs of the nation at that point because, he did that speech, the chicken coming home to roost, in the aftermath of the President Kennedy assassination. So they gave the powers to be in the nation an excuse to limit his speech. Kind of like how they did Donald Trump recently, right? Malcolm was censored. But they ain't have no social media, but he was forbidden. You are forbidden, Malcolm, forbidden to talk to the press. But Malcolm Kennedy was loved by black and white people. You are forbidden, Malcolm. So Malcolm was censored like Donald Trump. I love this stuff. Now you can't, man. Who write these scripts? He was censored. It supposed to last for like 90 days, and we now know what happened. Malcolm ended up going his own way from the nation, forming two organizations, Muslim Mosque Incorporated, and also the Organization of Afro American Unity. Had a chance to talk to A. Peter Bailey, one of Malcolm's associates and colleagues at the Organization of Afro American Unity. So I'm going to be playing a couple of clips from these people. A. Peter Bailey is still with us. He's a righteous elder. Bobby Dick Gregory is a righteous ancestor. And also, I had a chance to talk to the one and only Dr. Manny Marable, who wrote that book, The Reinvention of Malcolm X. I talked to him 4th of July weekend 2007. As you all should be aware of, he passed away under questionable circumstances the weekend before his book came out, The Reinvention of Malcolm X. He passed away that weekend before. He had a thing called sarcoidosis, he had a double lung transplant. Everything was going fine. And all of a sudden, when the book's about to come out, he passes away. He had a double lung transplant. But it's curious. I mean, you kind of think, did he write the book that got published, won a Pulitzer and all that? But a lot of controversy because it tried to imply that Malcolm was homosexual. And I talked to Dr. Manny Marable about that in our hour-long conversation. But that was in 2007. The book came out in 2011, I think. And I read that book from front to cover. It was an interesting treat on Malcolm X, how they treated his legacy. According to Manny Marable, because Manny Marable was considered one of the world's foremost experts on the life of Malcolm X. He ran the Malcolm and Betty Shabazz Center, I believe, at Columbia, or he helped form it. And so he'd been working on this Malcolm thing for almost 30 years. He had access to Malcolm's inner circle and family, and a lot of them were disappointed in the final product, But who really know that there was Manny Marable's actual book that he wrote all those years? We don't know. I tried to interview his widow. She wasn't speaking to me at that time. That was years ago. Maybe she'll be more forthcoming now. But I talked to Malcolm's nephew, Ronell Collins, several times. I talked to him several times. And I need to bring him back on the show now. And he talked about how when he wrote his book, The Seventh Child, before he wrote the book, The Seventh Child, about his uncle Malcolm, Malcolm was the seventh child of his father. And Ronell's mother was Malcolm's eldest sibling, Ella. She took care of Malcolm. When Malcolm went to Roxbury, to Boston, he lived with Sister Ella, and she paid for his pilgrimage to Mecca. And what y'all got to understand is that there is no such character as Minister Bane. He's what they call in Hollywood a composite character. A lot of y'all look at Spike Lee's Malcolm X movie as the gospel according to Malcolm. It's just further from the truth. Malcolm family got him involved in the Nation of Islam. Matter of fact, from talking to his nephew, he's implying that Malcolm and Elijah had a blood connection. They're actually blood family. Y'all got to remember that Malcolm's father is from Georgia. Elijah Muhammad, born Elijah Poole, October 7, I believe, 1897. He's from Georgia. Georgia, the whole day through. So Georgia is powerful, like Mississippi or Alabama. A lot of black folks, a lot of bloodlines. But it was his family. And actually, it was an inmate in prison with Malcolm that got him interested in the debate team. That's how Malcolm got on the debate team. This guy named, I don't think his name Embry. I think I might bring him up too in this conversation because I'm trying to help y'all understand some truth, because y'all look at Amazon Prime and Hollywood and Netflix, when they put out a Black history, anything dealing with Black culture, a lot of y'all take it as gospel truth, which is farthest from the truth. And that's why I'm doing this show. A lot of times I don't feel like doing these shows. I mean, it is like a lot on me. But I had this thing with the ancestors. The righteous ancestors spoke to me at the beginning of the year. They said, Brother Ron, we be giving you stuff. You sit on a lot of stuff. Give it to the people. We promise we'll take care of you. We know you by yourself. We know it's a lonely walk that you walk in. Because I spend most of my days by myself trying to process information, just trying to deal with my reality as a person, as a human being, having a human experience. I spend a lot of time by myself. I don't spend a lot of time around family and friends. I could talk with people. I guess I'm a social hermit. Look, I'm not socially awkward. I know how to partay. I know how to talk the small talk. I could do all that, but I spend most of my days by myself trying to process information when I'm not working my part-time job and doing other things. But there's so much to process. It's an amazing time to be alive. And I'm just thankful to the Most High that I have found a way to deal with this stuff. But yeah, 2021 gonna be an interesting year for you all. Gonna be a lot of things that coming through me. I'm gonna get it to y'all by any means necessary. But it's Muhammad Ali's birthday. For about 7 more minutes. It's about 7 more minutes in Central Time. But let me read this tribute to brother Muhammad Ali. And I'm gonna talk about the movie. I'm about 17 minutes in. We're gonna talk about the movie, but I hope all can hear me well. And let me check, because Facebook, man, we live in a time of great censorship. And that's another thing. I got a lot of shows I want to do. I saw American Skin. I'm gonna do a review about that and put some historical context around that as well. I love doing the movie reviews because give me a chance to talk about history. And that's one good thing about these movies. Give you a chance to talk about history. I'm trying to make sure everything is in sync. Just give me a moment, people. It's like everything okay. Y'all can hear me fine. Like the image ain't too bad. I'm just checking everything out. I'm paranoid like that. I'm one of those OCD people, man. I check my stove about 20 times before I leave the house. Be late for everything. I'm always 5 checking, 10 times checking every damn thing. I'm paranoid like that. Somebody's watching me. And people are not only watching you, but they're listening to you as well. So I hope y'all are very much aware of that. Somebody watching me. Okay, let me stop now. Let me see. Find my pictures. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for being patient. Lovely day, lovely day. Yeah, y'all know y'all go to my Teespring. I buy some Muhammad Ali shirts. The GOAT. I actually did this image when I came back from Cozumel. I learned about the passing of Muhammad Ali that week, that Friday. I think it was a Friday. Was it the 4th? Was it June the 4th or something like that? And I stayed at this hotel because I didn't really have a home. I was just live with my mom when I'm in Memphis. Now I live by myself. But I was staying in the hotel, just trying to get my minds and thoughts together. So I did this picture in honor of Muhammad Ali called the GOAT. And I put it on some t-shirts. And you can get them at my at the Teespring, the We All Be or the R2C2HU place at Teespring. That's the description. Below the description box, there's a shelf with some of my artwork. I got some new art coming out soon. I'm always doing art. I'm always trying to find ways to express myself. So that's who I am. And that's We All Be. And so find another picture. But life is interesting right now. I have not had a dull moment in 2021. Like I said, it's like The Godfather 2. It's like 2021 is like a great sequel. Or however you look at it, I think it's a great time to be alive. I have no complaints or worries per se. I'm learning how to put things in a better perspective. Yeah, I love Malcolm and Muhammad. And Muhammad Ali, as he got older, he realized one of his greatest regrets was not connecting with Malcolm, leaving Malcolm out there by himself. Malcolm wanted Muhammad Ali. That was true in the movie. He wanted Muhammad Ali to lead the nation and go with him to start his own organization. He wanted Louis Farrakhan to leave the nation as well. And Farrakhan was a snitch, whatever you want to call him. He told Elijah Muhammad, hey, he trying to leave the Honorable Minister Muhammad, all that stuff. But Farrakhan was considered one of Malcolm's proteges. See, the way Farrakhan preached and how he talks, he got that from Malcolm. Farrakhan's from Boston. He's from the neighborhood of Roxbury. And Malcolm's sister Ella lived in Roxbury too. And now her home is a historical landmark. It's known as the, I think, Ella Collins and Malcolm X house. Because Malcolm even stayed there when he was grown up. And Ella was a big benefactor. She was a sponsor for many of his trips, like, trips to Mecca and stuff like that. His sister paid for that. And also, she was a very influential power broker in Boston. I think, according to her son, Ronell, she had a relationship with the Kennedy family, a political relationship. And also she was responsible to make sure that The Speaker of the House, one of the powerful Speaker of the House, is Tip O'Neill. A guy named Tip O'Neill from Boston. Y'all correct me later on. I ain't gonna look this up. But Tip O'Neill, his political career was boosted by his association with Sister Ella Collins. She was a powerful kingmaker. I mean, she even helped her brother Malcolm become who he became. And y'all can check out some of her interviews on YouTube, where she talk about how she saw Malcolm as a great one. She knew that he was great. She was like his mom in a way. You know, his mom ended up going insane because she's dealing with insane white people. They put her in a mental institution. So his sister was like his mom. She raised Malcolm and helped him get into the nation. The rest is history. But yep, Malcolm, let me read this tribute to him and let's move on to the show. And we'll move on to the show. And thank y'all for being patient. I hope y'all can hear me all right. I can't believe I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it. Happy Life Affirmation Day to the greatest man. Champions are not made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have last minute stamina. They have to be a little faster. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill. That's a quote from Muhammad Ali, the greatest. America tried to emasculate the greats, murder Malcolm, gave Cassius the shakes. That's from Jehovah, Jay-Z. F up this world. Okay. Real black manhood is both hard to ignore and kill. Even in death, it stands erect and strong. See how it works? Many thanks and amplified blessings to both Brother Malcolm X and Brother Muhammad Ali for setting the standard. After seeing pictures of Emmett Till's horribly disfigured body, young Cassius Clay, who would later become known as boxing icon Muhammad Ali, and a friend expressed their outrage by vandalizing a local rail yard in Louisville, Kentucky, causing the derailing of a locomotive engine. Never forget what they did to Mammy's baby boy, the face that launched the modern American civil rights movement. Y'all see how it works? We stand on y'all's shoulders. We are no longer afraid, man. Somewhere. So, somewhere over the rainbow. And the way you look tonight. So let's get on with the show. I saw One Night in Miami. I was not disappointed. It was, I think, Regina King's directorial debut. Regina King, I mean, she's an amazing woman. She is very talented. And I just still can remember her like from 227. That's part of my childhood. Had a chance to meet Marla Gibbs when I went to LA for the first time and tell her thank you for those childhood memories. Marla Gibbs was her mama on 227, and it's amazing to look at her career, what she's able to do for the culture. And shout out to Regina King, because her birthday was also January the 15th, the same as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I wonder if she's related to the King family. Now that's interesting, because both their birthdays January 15th. But she did a great job in the directorial debut. It was a play originally, One Night in Miami. It talks about the night after the big fight with Cassius Clay will eventually become known as Muhammad Ali and became the heavyweight champion of the world. His close friends were there, Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, and his spiritual advisor, spiritual brother number one, Malcolm X. So it's a fictionalized treatment of that night after the fight. What happened between when goats are having company and having conversation. Now that's amazing. Think about that's a goat conversation. That's a goat. Think about it. You got Muhammad Ali, who's arguably the greatest boxer who ever fought. You know, arguably. He called himself the greatest. He got the record, the back, he got the receipts. Then you got Jim Brown, who is probably easily the greatest football player of all time. I know y'all got Tom Brady. Tom Brady's impressive. He got all them stats, right? Yeah, Jerry Rice. Yeah. Barry Sanders. Yeah. O.J. Simpson. Even nobody like Jim Brown. Nobody like Jim Brown. That man set all the top rackets in rushing and running the football and National Football League in under a decade. The man was retired by 29 years young. He could still walk off the field. He could still recall he played football. And he left on his own terms. Gave a big fuck you to the NFL. See, Colin Kaepernick, he knelt his way out of the NFL. He was kneeling. Jim Brown said, F this, I'm quitting. He told Art Modell, forget you. I'm quitting. I'm leaving. He y'all talk about LeBron James' decision and how that owner went off on him that owned the Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert. Hey, that's the same city. Ain't nothing changed. But Jim Brown did that back in the 60s. Said, the hell with this. I can make more money doing one movie than I could playing all year of football. Jim Brown, arguably he's probably the greatest college. They voted him the greatest college football player. But you know the sad thing about it is, Jim Brown should have been the first black football player to win the Heisman. You know, fellow Syracuse alum Ernie Davis won it. He died of leukemia. He didn't even play a down of football. It's a tragic story. The Elmira Express, they did a movie called The Express based on his story. And he played in Syracuse. He followed in Jim Brown's footsteps. He became the first black football player to win the Heisman. But really, it should have been Jim Brown. He lost it to Paul Hornung, who was, I guess, a gifted white athlete. He could play all positions at Notre Dame. He won it, and his team had a losing season. I think that's the first and only time a college football player won an Heisman when his team had a losing season. Paul Hornung, whatever his name, he's from Kentucky, ended up playing for Green Bay Packers, went out on championships with Vince Lombardi. They won the first Super Bowl together. He passed away, I want to say November 13th of 2020. So he just passed away, Paul Hornung, but Jim Brown's still alive. But Jim Brown should have won the Heisman that year. Because Syracuse, they had a great record, and Jim Brown was just tearing up the nation with his exploits on the football field. But Dick Schaap, the legendary sports journalist, he resigned from the voting committee in disgust, I believe, after they didn't award the Heisman to Jim Brown. It's like kind of like with the Pulitzer did not give Duke Ellington his Pulitzer back in the 60s. And Duke said, well, I guess God don't want me to be famous too young. Duke was almost 70 years old. And then it took years later for Wynton Marsalis to become the first jazz musician to win the Pulitzer. But guess how he won it? He used Duke Ellington's arrangements. He used his blueprint. He went to the Smithsonian, the same Smithsonian who told me, the expert on Duke Ellington, that Duke Ellington didn't have no sister, although it was Duke Ellington's sister Ruth who donated Duke Ellington's papers to the damn Smithsonian, and she passed away the year before for New York Times obituary. So this dude told me, this white man, so I said, y'all gotta stop trusting these people with our narratives. So the white man, oh, Duke didn't have no sister. Duke talked about his sister in his autobiography. But anyway, Wynton went down there. He said when Wynton saw Duke stuff, his eyes got big like a kid in a candy store. And he was rubbing his chops together. And guess what? He got a Pulitzer, Blood on the Fields. That's the name of his music suite he did about American slavery. But Duke was a historian. He was using music to tell black people stories. Duke Ellington one of the best people when it comes to painting portraits of famous black people, and also just everyday working black people. He used music as his visual art. Because Duke was a painter at first. Duke was a painter. He painted. He had a scholarship to go to Pratt Institute in New York and turned it down because I believe Fats Wallace said you could make it in music, man. You got what it takes to make it in music. And misbehaving, saving my love, oh, da-da-do-da-da-do-da-da-da. That Fats Waller. I believe, and other cats told him you could make it in the music, man. And the rest is history. And another not well-known fact, Romare Bearden, the great black visual artist, was Duke Ellington's cousin. Romare Bearden started out in music. He was a publisher for Billie Holiday and Billy Eckstine. He also was a Negro League baseball player, and the white folks in the major leagues want him to pass for white because he was high yellow. You look at Romare Bearden, he looked like he passed for white man, but he didn't want to do that. So that's how good he was in baseball. But it's funny how the cousins switched spots. Like Duke started out being a visual artist, a painter, then his cousin, they switched spots, So that's just not that well known like it should be because we don't study our history. But Jim Brown, that man ran for 1,863 yards in 14 games. Think about it. When he ran for that was the rushing record until OJ came along and became the first football player to run for 2,000 yards. But they had 16 games when I think OJ ran. Jim Brown ran for 1,863 yards in 14 games. He ran for a little bit over 50. He set the rushing. I mean, he got the rushing record. He broke his own record. I believe in the late 50s, he ran like 1,527 yards in 12 games. Jim Brown was a beast. He was a beast. He was a man child. This man set all the records. Man, only football player in history. No, he's not the only. Barry Sanders averaged 5 yards per carry. But Jim Brown averaged like 5.2 yards per carry. And he's the only player in football history that actually averaged 100 yards per game rushing. He had 100 rush yards per game for his whole career. No other player did that. If you count Barry Sanders like 99.6 or 99.8, he actually hit over the 100 without rounding it off. That's impressive. And actually carry the ball 5.2 yards per carry and set all the records under the age of 30. He only played 9 years in the league, led the league in rushing for 8 years. All of them yards from scrimmage. That's a specimen of a man. And was a great lacrosse player. This man's in the Football Hall of Fame, in college and National Football Hall of Fame, and in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame. And he could play basketball. Hell of an athlete from the islands, from the Georgia Islands, from St. Simons, all right? Or St. Simmons, Georgia, from the Georgia Islands. That's Gullah Geechee territory. Y'all know about that, though. Jim Brown's a man. He like John Henry. That's a man. So you have him. Then you have Sam Cooke, King of Soul. Sam Cooke. That Sam Cooke. You send me Sam Cooke, right? I believe he is one of the greatest singers who ever lived. And not only was he a great singer, he was a great visionary and businessman. All right, you have Sam Cooke. We know about Sam Cooke. Then also you have Brother Malcolm X. Malcolm X, come on, man. Yeah, Brother Malcolm X. What can I say about Brother Malcolm X? Make it plain. Malcolm X was the man. Charismatic, good looking, articulate, loved black people. Put his life and his family life on the line for black people. But like Dr. Randy Short said, we love our traitors and hate our heroes. Well, I say we love our traitors and hate our heroes. Malcolm is still misunderstood to this day. Black folks still afraid of Malcolm. Black folks don't get it about Malcolm. That's why Malcolm got. You know, we disrespect our own, but Malcolm is interesting. And I'm glad I'm doing this because I want to talk about Malcolm. Because like how people say, well, he portrayed as weak and soft in the movie. I believe they humanized Malcolm. Malcolm was a man. Malcolm had worries and troubles and stresses like any other average person, but it was more intensified on Malcolm because of what he chose to do with his life. He dedicated his life to freeing and liberating black people by any means necessary, even if it meant in his life. He took a vow of poverty. Malcolm was poor when he died. You know, he didn't own that home that was firebombed. It was owned by the Nation of Islam. But Malcolm built the nation to what it became, right? The golden era was written on Malcolm back. And guess what zodiac sign Malcolm is? He's a Taurus. We the manifestors of the zodiac. We built stuff. Duke Ellington's a Taurus. Duke Ellington had a band for 50 damn years. The only person he ever fired from that band was Charles Mingus, another Taurus. But Charles Mingus loved Duke Ellington. He saw Duke Ellington as a god. Charles Mingus was a volatile mother. He was volatile, man. Charles Mingus was crazy. Bipolar, shooting guns in his apartment, punching out his trombonist, knocking his teeth out, messing up his damn embouchure. Charles Mingus was crazy, but he was brilliant. And the only person he really deferred to, like, really was Duke Ellington. I mean, Charles Mingus didn't give a damn who he was, except you was Duke. He gave a lot of respect to Duke. You see the pictures of Charles Mingus with Duke Ellington, how he looked at Duke, man, like he just worshiped Duke, man. Kind of like how Malcolm did Elijah at one point. But Tauruses, Malcolm was a Taurus. Farrakhan is a Taurus. Man, Taurus, we some bad mamma jumpers, man. Like, we all exist because of me. People say, you got a staff? And I was, no, it's me, myself, and I. My mom is my fan. She helps me when she can, but I'm really pushing this juggernaut through, man. I created this platform. This is my vision. And it's here because of me. But what I'm saying is, I want to thank viewers like you who donate and support, who buy things, who spread the word from Brother Hurt. But I'm saying all this to say that Malcolm didn't come off as bad. It's hard to make Malcolm look bad, even when they try to make him gay. Malcolm is bulletproof in death. Because all it does is give people more interest about learning about who Malcolm is. And Malcolm left so much for us to explore, like his speeches and so much stuff he loved. Even the autobiography. He left a lot of stuff for us to explore and learn for ourselves. And I really want to encourage people to do that, to seek out this information on Brother Malcolm. Get it in his own words. Get it in his own words. Okay? He made it plain. That's why he was dangerous. But Malcolm's goal, according to A. Peter Bailey, was to be more dangerous dead than alive. Malcolm is more dangerous dead than alive because black folks still are afraid to embrace Malcolm. I'll be hearing black folks say by any means necessary. They say, I didn't mean by like that. They don't say this stuff. If you ain't willing to put your life on the line for freedom, keep the word freedom out your vocabulary. You ain't that one. And that's okay. Because most of us are cowards and afraid anyway. And that's, so you're not really by yourself. Majority of us are cowards. That's why we take the stuff that we take from generation to generation. And I'm going to expand on that in this review, as well as in American Skin review I'm going to do later on. But, so you got all four of these guys. And you know what's interesting? You compare these guys, these group of men, what we have now in terms of black celebrity. You had men like Jim Brown that told the NFL to go to hell. I'm not messing up my knees no more for y'all. I'm through running on the plantation. I'm through being a buck. I'm going to make a buck somewhere else in Hollywood. Sam Cooke said, you go to hell. I want to control my destiny by controlling my masters and publishing. I want to help other black artists get free. I'm like, be like Harriet Tubman or Nat Turner in this music industry. I'm going to free my people. Let my people go. I'm going to free them. I'm going to liberate them through economic freedom. Here's Mike Muhammad Ali. I can worship who I want to worship. You can't tell me who to worship. You can't make me kill somebody. Like he said, no Vidcon ever called me a nigga. No Vidcon never called me a nigga. See, Muhammad Ali, even if he had just went ahead and got drafted, he was not going to be on the front lines. That was not the point. He had a moral code, a moral conscience. So he sacrificed almost 4 years of his prime just for a moral code that he had, that he possessed. His moral consciousness. And by sacrificing 4 years of his prime, he became an immortal. Muhammad Ali is still talked about to this day, and he will be talked about for a long, long, long time. So he wouldn't have paid that price. Y'all talking about Kaepernick. Kaepernick ain't nowhere near Muhammad Ali. He ain't no Jim Brown. He ain't no Malcolm X. He ain't no Sam Cooke. So this is where we at. We got Colin Kaepernick. We got LeBron James saying, well, I'm afraid as a black man, the police, women afraid, children afraid, black men afraid. Brother, Jim Brown wasn't afraid. Sam Cooke wasn't afraid. Muhammad Ali wasn't afraid. And Malcolm X sure wasn't afraid of those policemen. And you got way more money and resources than all them guys had back in the 64. There's no damn excuse for that type of cowardice. And I'm not hating on LeBron. But these celebrities, they are beholden to the white dollar and the white power structure. And that was being shown in that movie. Like, as long as I run that football, boy. But you can't come in my house, nigga. But run that football, boy. But you can't come in my house, nigga. You saw how that would happen when Jim Brown came home, the white man, Mr. Carter, whatever his name was. Oh, we love you, Jim. You a good old boy. You make Georgia proud, boy. Then, he was trying to do the white man a solid. We can't let no niggas in the house, Jim. You know better than that. You a nigga. That through Jim Brown. Jim Brown, it's a lot of controversy. I mean, Jim Brown, he dedicated his life to helping a lot of black people. Even in economics back in the day. I know football players that I spoke with, like Curtis McClinton, Kansas City Chiefs royalty, scored the first touchdown for the AFC, for the American Football League, excuse me, for the American Football League in the first Super Bowl. I had a crush on his daughter when I was in college at WashU. She was in I guess she worked in the staff in the residency when she's gorgeous. I just had a crush on her. But I met her father after graduating from college. You know, Curtis McClinton is a legend in football, but also he did a lot of activist work and economic work with Jim Brown, trying to empower black businesses back in the day. And also Curtis McClinton, he's in that famous picture standing up behind Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown and all them great athletes like Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's in that picture. So I had a chance to spend some hours with him talking about his life, and he had a great thing to say about Jim Brown. So Jim Brown put his life on the line for black people outside the gridiron. But he was tired of being run. And he said enough is enough, but that's how they treated him. Like, you good enough to be play a football, but you're not good enough to sit at my table in my home or come through the front door. That was showed in that movie brilliantly. You know, it showed the disrespect that you had to endure back then. And you gotta think about Jim Brown. Them wasn't making no money like LeBron and them make in today's professional sports league. He wasn't making no Patrick Mahomes money. You know, they had to work jobs in the offseason. A lot of them guys did. You know, so that was a different time. I think it helps them to have more of a consciousness than a lot of these athletes now do, because they so insulated from all that struggle. So Jim Brown, them guys were not really that much insulated from that struggle, because they was able to see it up front and close and personal. But Jim Brown talked about how white people helped him in his career. To me, Jim Brown's very honest about that. Like, the white people helped him in his career, like the white football coaches. I know some good white folks that helped me, but they still racist. Not because they hate black people, because they identify as white in a system that benefits white people. Not because, like, racism don't have nothing to do with your hate a lot of times. Everybody could be bigoted or prejudiced, but what racism does allow, if you are in a group as assigned as privilege, you can use your hate and bigotry as a leverage to further exploit and mistreat classes of people that don't benefit from the access that you have. So Jim Brown met the good whites along the way, of course. I have met some good whites. A lot of us have met good whites that, no, they look the other way and they look out for us and give us little scraps and breadcrumbs and shit. That's not to be talked about or disputed. What I'm saying is, we don't really have any white friends. The only white friend we ever had, if you think about it, was John Brown. And we don't even talk about John Brown no more. Black folks used to love John Brown. We talk about Joe Biden more. We talk about John Brown. Joe Biden, he asked for forgiveness. He called you roaches and everything. But y'all still talking about Donald Trump with the Central Park Five. But not only did he call black people roaches and jungle animals, but he passed legislation that destroyed the nucleus of the black family, the black family nucleus. So y'all, we're gonna vote for him. That's a reward. Yes, sir. Yep, go Biden. Yes, sir. But anyway. Boy. Now, the movie was interesting. I noticed too with Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke, another one. He didn't take no shit off of white people. That's why they killed him. This man, you look at some documentary about Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke is from Clarksdale, Mississippi, right? He's from the South. He's from the Mississippi Delta. He was raised in Chicago, like that song. I was born by the river in a tenement. See, really, it wasn't a little tent. It was a tenement. He was born in the project by the river. He was born down in Clarksdale by the Sunflower River in a tenement. In a tenement. Oh, in a little tent. Tenement. He was born in the projects down in Clarksdale. But he raised up in Chicago, gospel family. Daddy was a preacher man. Sung in family gospel choir, sung with all the great gospel groups from back in the day. But Sam had no problem telling off white police officers in the South. He'll come to Memphis and a white police officer disrespected him. He said, do you know who I am? They said, your wife know who I am. Your girlfriend know who I am. Why don't you go ask your wife? Why don't you go ask your girlfriend about me? You got to think about it. This is when they killed Emmett Till. This is when they said Bill Cosby raped a whole bunch of white girls. I guess if you look at Sam Cooke, he telling off white cops in the South, hey, why don't you holler at your wife and ask her about me. He be saying stuff to these white cops like that. Then he said to the people in the music business, I don't care. You can't scare me. They were sending Sammy Davis Jr. to him. Sammy, that's another story how he got that eye knocked out. See, old timers that work with Sammy would tell me so that I have not shared. They'll tell me stuff off the racket. But I'm not laughing at him getting his eye knocked out. But I'm saying they were saying, Sammy, hey, you gotta be you, but don't be you. Be me. You gotta be me. You gotta be me. No, but Sam wasn't budging. I remember I saw a documentary about Sam Cooke, and Lloyd Price, the great R&B rock and roll legend from New Orleans, Fats Domino from New Orleans. I think he was telling the story about how Sam approached Fats Domino in a barbershop out in LA. And Sam was telling about his vision, how they could control black music through distribution, how they could control their publishing and royalties. Sam was real close to Ray Charles. Ray Charles was a very astute business person, very savvy business person, excuse me. You saw in the movie Ray, like he owned his publishing, his masters. You gotta look at it from Ray Charles' point of view. See, I'm already a blind nigga. You ain't gonna rob me too. I'm already blind, so what the fuck you gonna do to me? You ain't gonna rob me, don't. So Sam was telling Fats Domino, hey man, let's get in this thing where we could control our music, control our masters and publishing and distribution. I think Fats Domino said something like, nigga, you crazy. You white folks treat me good. I ain't worried about that. Blood, what's wrong with you, man? The white boys treat me good. Y'all remember Fats Domino at one point was more popular than Elvis. He was outselling Elvis at one point. He dominated the 50s. Blueberry Hill, the Fat Man, all that stuff. Matter of fact, his arranger, the trumpeter, David Bartholomew, I believe his name was Brother David Bartholomew. He just passed away last year. He was 100-something years old. I believe he just turned 100 years old. There was Fats Domino's like music director and arranger and producer. That's a brother from New Orleans. But Fats Domino, man, he was killing the game. It's like, I can understand coming from his point of view, why I'm gonna mess up a good thing. White folks treat me good, they pay me well. But Sam said, I want to be control my destiny. He had the blueprint. What he said in that movie, he said, I don't want the pie, I want the recipe. And they got him killed. Because that was the Colonel's secret recipe. That was the Colonel's secret recipe. Hey, you can't let no darky have the Colonel's secret recipe. Now can you? So you gotta think about it like that. But it was true about Sam Cooke. And I think Leslie Odom, props to that brother. Leslie Odom killed that Sam Cooke part. I loved it. I didn't know how he was going to pull it off. I love what he did. I think he really captured the essence of Sam Cooke. You could tell he talked to probably Sam Cooke's people. He probably did a lot of studying. But Leslie Odom ain't no joke, man. I like the fact that he used his voice. They didn't do no overdubbing bullshit. And it could seem more genuine. He didn't always sound like Sam Cooke, but you could tell the man could sing. He could sing. And I think he did a great job in respect to Sam Cooke. And brilliant. And the brother Hodge, his brother name, man, he killed that Jim Brown role, man. I love him as Jim Brown. I didn't know he was going to pull it off either. But the casting people did a great job in casting these people, man. They pulled it off. Because what's his name? Brother name Hodge. I remember seeing him on the first time on this show called Leverage. He's come on cable TV. I used to love that show, Leverage. And I remember him Underground. He just got it, man. He got it great. He got charisma. He got presence. And he just can act. Oh man. I'm just trying to Aldous Hodge. That's the brother name. He killed that role, man. He really played it like a man. Jim Brown is interesting. Because you remember, it was a movie that Jim Brown did with Raquel Welch, who was a sex symbol back in there. Raquel Welch was a fine white woman. Her and Sophia Loren. Oh my God. See, I mean, I was even born when they was in their prime. I'm just saying, he was some fine white women. Sophia Loren and Raquel Welch. And Jim Brown did the first interracial sex scene in Hollywood history with Raquel Welch in a movie starring Burt Reynolds. It's a Western, I believe. And I remember seeing that Spike Lee documentary, that excellent Spike Lee documentary on Jim Brown back in 2006. And Raquel Welch said that Jim Brown could never be a great actor because he was too much of a man. I said, damn. She said he was too much of a man. She said he would never be a great actor. He's too much of a man. He's a man's man. So, you know, when you acting, you gotta have a certain type of sensitivity. You need a man with sensitivity. You know, like to be an actor. Look at Brando or James Dean or even Tupac. You know, even at Thug Stuff, he still had a certain. Look at Poetic Justice, for example, or even Juice. How Tupac played those with a certain type of nuances. You gotta be in touch a little bit with your feminine side a little bit in terms like the feminine energy. Jim Brown was too much of a man. He said Jim Brown was too much of a man to be an actor, a great actor. Jim Brown not only he probably got Raquel Welch, or he even got Gloria Steinem, CIA Gloria Steinem, like the in the play. He said, "I love white women," and Jim Brown was tagging everything. That boy was that was a stud. But anyway, I enjoyed the movie. I have no expectations for these type of Hollywood treatments, so I'm not hypercritical of things they might not always get exact because it's a movie. It's a dramatization. It's a fictionalized account using historical characters inspired from a historical event. So I'm not looking for them to get everything 100% correct. Now, when Hollywood says it's based on a true story, it could just mean, for example, well, we got Malcolm X hair color right. You know, he had reddish brown. So okay, it's based on a true story because he got his hair color right, or the type of clothes they wear. Sam Cooke drove that car. So based on true stories, vague in Hollywood terms. It could be we use their names. These are actual people, but everything else is fictitious. Like, you know, Jim Brown is the only one still alive from the GOATs who could speak on that. I ain't hear nothing about Jim Brown speaking on a movie or the play One Night in Miami. But they were there that night for Muhammad Ali when he became the heavyweight champion of the world. There's archival footage of Sam Cooke on inside the boxing ring afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So he was there. And Jim Brown called the fight, I guess, color commentary like Snoop Dogg did not too long ago. So, I mean, do not get your history lessons from Hollywood. Just like this upcoming Fred Hampton with Judas and the Black Messiah. It's based on actual history, but you'll be better advised to read some books, to talk to people that actually are still around. Fred Hampton's fiance, she's still around. Talk to her about that. Now, she was there with Fred Hampton Jr. in her womb. No, Malcolm, some of Malcolm inner circle, like A. Peter Bailey, are still around. Holla at them. I did. I got hours of stuff with Malcolm X's nephew, Ronell Collins. I'm about to get some more stuff with him. I got stuff with A. Peter Bailey. I got several hours of information interviews I did with A. Peter Bailey. Got stuff I did with Dr. Manny Marable. Yeah, I know I got stuff I did with brother Dick Gregory, Baba Dick Gregory. But let me get into the Malcolm thing. My cousins, everybody kind of upset about the treatment of Malcolm. I hope y'all can hear me. About the treatment of Malcolm, they thought he was compromised, how they showed him like he was begging, like he was weak, he was emasculated to some people. I didn't see that. What I saw was a humanization of Malcolm. Like, you know, we got Malcolm like he's so above and beyond us. I mean, he was a human at one point. He had real human problems and anxieties and insecurities like any other human. I remember my professor who passed, who just died not too long ago, the late great Dr. Garrett Duncan. He was not my professor in college, but he was a friend. He was somebody I could confide in. He was a supporter of my art career, of my artistry, and I'll go to my office hours. Also, he was at one point a black Muslim, and he worked with Khalid Muhammad on Jesse Jackson's campaigns. He was part of the Fruit of Islam. He's from LA, not from California. I think he's from LA, or he was from the Bay, from Oakland or San Francisco, but he's from Cali. And he was in the Nation of Islam, part of Fruit of Islam. There were bodyguards for Reverend Jesse Jackson when he was running for president. But he became a professor at Washington University in St. Louis, Washington University. So I used to talk to him during his office hours. And I remember him sending me an email with this letter that went to auction that allegedly was written by Malcolm X to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, talking about his marital problems, talking about Betty, how Betty said he was no good in bed, that she was going to mess around with this dude in Chicago, another brother in Chicago. And he was saying in the letter, allegedly it was his letter that he wrote to Elijah Muhammad, that he used to be a pimp. And for a woman to tell you that you no good in bed, it has psychological ramifications. Like, even if she was lying and she did enjoy it, he'll just think about the time she said he was no good. And evidently Malcolm was doing something right. He had 6 daughters. He was hitting something, but he just, that letter supposed to have been legitimate, and it was sold in auction. Y'all probably could Google up this letter, Malcolm X letter to Elijah Muhammad about marital problems or something like that. It might pop up. Take a look. It should be still online. But people talk about, well, what about Malcolm when he did that Berkeley interview? We talking about beware of celebrities. They're nothing but court jesters, right? They puppets for the white man. And that still is true. Because look at now. I believe that we as black people, in particular black men, are being punished for the 1960s. It was too much manhood. It was too much masculinity in the 1960s for black men. And that was a threat to white America. So they effeminizing black men since that time. I just thought about it tonight. I can't imagine Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, Malcolm X, or Muhammad Ali wearing dresses. They were too much men. They were men. They stood up for themselves. They stood up for their people, and they paid the price for it. But I can't imagine you could put them in a dress. Now, Terry Crews and The Rock, Kevin Hart, yeah, they will have a problem with the dress. Malcolm, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, hell no, they ain't wearing no dress. Now, Muhammad Ali was on the Flip Wilson show. Flip Wilson put on the dress, Geraldine, but Muhammad Ali knew. Muhammad Ali was brilliant. He played his role well. Muhammad Ali was, he played a part of court jester, but he was not no fool. Muhammad Ali was far from a fool. But yeah, we're being punished for the 1960s. Look at the blacks. Like I talk about LeBron. I'm not shitting on LeBron. I don't have no problem with LeBron. He's a hell of a basketball player. He's one of the all-time greats. He's in the GOAT conversation. But when he said what he said last year about black men being afraid, I'm not afraid of police. No, I'm not afraid of these people. He put that scary energy. Muhammad Ali wasn't afraid. Sam Cooke wasn't afraid. Jim Brown wasn't afraid. And Malcolm X definitely wasn't afraid. Matter of fact, the police say that's too much power for one black man to have. Malcolm X stopped a riot from happening. That's true. Now, that's one thing Spike Lee movie did get right. That event took place where he marched to the police precinct. And he stopped the riot from happening. Now, they blame Donald Trump for a riot he didn't start. He didn't start that bullshit. But Malcolm prevented the riot, and the police did say that's too much power for one man to have. When the LAPD rolled down on the Nation of Islam mosque in LA and killed a Korean War veteran who was secretary of the mosque named Ronald Stokes, Malcolm was ready to go guerrilla warfare with the LAPD. He was ready to put them soldiers in the streets and put in that work on the LAPD. And Elijah said, no, Brother Malcolm, no, Brother Malcolm. Stand down and stand by, Brother Malcolm. We don't fight like that. God would punish the devil. God would punish, and he's still killing us. But Malcolm was ready to go to war. Like the Sicilians, they say, hit those mattresses. We going, like that show with Bumpy Johnson, Malcolm X, like how they were going in with the mob. They're ready to hit those mattresses. Malcolm's from the streets, man. But I want to say about Malcolm. Now, they wasn't too far off on Malcolm being around a bunch of celebrities. Bobby Dick Gregory was real close to Malcolm X, right? Malcolm always hit around. He always hanged around celebrities, even when he was Detroit Red. Man, he used to smoke weed with Billie Holiday. He used to play drums sometimes behind Billie Holiday. Malcolm used to play the drums. He used to be a dishwasher. He used to be a dishwasher at Jimmy's Chicken Shack in Harlem. Guess who his fellow dishwasher was? Was none other than Red Fox, man. He said Red Fox was the funniest dishwasher ever. So Malcolm was washing dishes with Red Fox at Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Chicken Shack. Y'all can look that up. Y'all don't take my word for it. Then Charlie Parker used to play at Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Get all that free chicken. Bird's the word. Charlie Parker loved chicken. They'll get him all the chicken you want, play all the jazz you want. Art Tatum, the great Art Tatum, used to play at Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Like I said, Malcolm used to play the drums behind Billie Holiday. When Malcolm would do a speaking rally in Harlem, he would have entertainment for the people. Sometimes Max Roach with his wife, Abby Lincoln, the great jazz singer, they would perform to warm up the crowd for Malcolm. You had people like Esther Roll, Damn, James. She would perform to warm up the crowd for Malcolm. Malcolm, good friends, Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee. Ozzie Davis did Malcolm's eulogy. So Malcolm hanged around a bunch of black celebrities. So this is not hypocrisy. You just try to heighten the contradictions to help y'all understand and understand what's going on. And I hope y'all hearing this. I hope you like, I can't hear you. I hope y'all tell me the truth, y'all can hear me or not. At Kareem's house, that's another topic. It don't have nothing to do with Malcolm. Now, Malcolm was connected to the guy, that slaughter. It was a massacre in D.C. of some Muslims. One guy was a Muslim leader who was outspoken against Elijah Muhammad. He allegedly sent some letters around the country, different mosques, and they slaughtered him. Alleged the Black Mafia from Philadelphia, because a lot of them were Muslims. See, Malcolm, a lot of people in the nation feared Malcolm because they knew Malcolm was the next to succeed Elijah Muhammad. He was going to clean house. Malcolm knew about these guys. See, the thing about Malcolm, he's a Taurus, right? Think about Master P. He's a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. One thing about Taurus is we're very loyal to a fault. We're loyal, and then when you loyal like that, you got to deal with a lot of betrayal. A lot of folks that Malcolm got into the nation betrayed him. Like his Captain Joseph X up at Mosque number 7 up in New York. He was a junkie when Malcolm cleaned him up. And he got mad at Malcolm for calling him out on beating his wife. Malcolm had to chill him out a little bit on beating his wife, and he never liked that. And so he became one of Malcolm's mortal enemies. Look at the documentary that my alum from WashU, the great Henry Hampton, the guy who created Eisner Prize. He did a brilliant documentary on Malcolm called Make It Plain, where he interviewed Ella, he interviewed Captain Joseph, and some of Malcolm's other siblings and other people about Malcolm. He gives a great picture of Malcolm's life and the complexities, but his family chose Elijah over him at the end. His brothers was at Founders Day around the same time he was assassinated in New York. They chose, like Muhammad Ali chose Elijah and the nation over Malcolm. So Malcolm was a very like a Shakespearean tragedy. It's kind of like Donald Trump now. Not saying that Donald Trump is nowhere near Malcolm, but think about the betrayal of a Mike Pence. Or a lot of people in his inner circle, they're like rats jumping ship. And Donald Trump's like the captain going down with the ship. It's very like a Greek tragedy. It's very Shakespearean with Brother Malcolm. What happened to him? So you put all this stuff together. And you get a better picture. Like I said, Malcolm always had a thing with entertainers. Like I said, Red Fox, they used to wash dishes together. Used to play jazz drums. He played with people like Billie Holiday, smoke weed with her. He did a lot of things. He was a hustler. So he overstood that. But it was a scene, it was an incident. I talked to A. Peter Bailey. Like he told me when Brother Malcolm had a lot of support from the black entertainers behind the scenes. You'll be surprised at the black celebrities that supported Malcolm back in the day behind the scenes. There was an incident, I believe, at Sidney Poitier's home when Sidney Poitier was married to a black woman still, I think. And Lorraine Hansberry was there. Now, y'all know who Lorraine Hansberry is, right? She's the sister, the playwright who wrote A Raisin in the Sun. And she died tragically young, too. She died in 1965 like Malcolm. And she also was born, guess what? May 19th. So she's a Taurus. So you got Malcolm and her born on May 19th. And also Ho Chi Minh, leader of the Viet Cong resistance, was born May 19th. These are all Tauruses. We the manifestors of the universe, man. We are powerful people. We Tauruses are powerful. We are some king and queen makers. We power makers, man. But Lorraine Hansberry confronted Malcolm about talking about her being married to a white Jewish guy. And she just set Malcolm straight in front of everybody. You know what Malcolm did? Malcolm said, "Look, I apologize. I'm sorry. I misread the situation." See, Malcolm was amazing because when Malcolm found out he was wrong about something, he had no problem admitting that he was wrong and apologizing. Like he said, I'm for truth no matter who tells it. And no matter who it's for, I'm for truth because I'm a human being. I'm from justice. I'm for justice no matter who gets it. Malcolm had a moral code. Like his nephew told me he took a vow of poverty to save and serve black people. But now I'm learning, don't worry about taking the vows of poverty and trying to save people that don't want to save themselves. I'm teaching y'all. See, the universal God, universal soul God told me, hey, run, you need to take care of yourself better. Teach the folks, don't die for the folks. Teach them. I need you to teach these lessons to our people so the ones that can have the eyes, that can hear, the mind to receive, and the heart to give, they will be taken care of. So I'm sharing this stuff with y'all. So with Malcolm, I don't think they did him disservice in the movie. They just humanized Malcolm. Because now more of the truth is coming out about what happened back in the 60s with Malcolm and the nation, and also government interference. Like, y'all gotta remember the National Secretary for the Nation of Islam, John Ali, was FBI. He controlled the correspondence between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. Just like people don't understand, Trump got a lot of like traitors in his camp, in his inner circle. That, you know, like you talk about Sidney Powell, the lawyer. She said she tried to get in touch with Donald Trump. She couldn't get access to Donald Trump. Although Donald Trump said you can have access to me, but if his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and other people are blocking her access to him, what can she do about it? So that's what happened with Elijah and Malcolm. You had people in the middle jamming up the communication between the two. And the guy who was responsible for that is still alive, John Ali, and him and I guess Farrakhan, they friendly. But I'm not saying he either here or there, but y'all got to recognize it is what it is, because we even with Mr. Farrakhan, I have yet to see anybody in the media call him out and say, Mister, where were you at the day that Malcolm got hit? Because they claiming that you was over at Mosque 25 in Newark where all the hitters came from, allegedly. So if the minister never came up, but the minister also said, hey, whatever the government got in their files on me and the nation and Malcolm, let them out. Time will tell. Truth will always come out eventually. But the key is, can you discern the truth from the bullshit? Are you able to discern? Because a lot of us can't discern fake news from real news. So, let me see. I was reading y'all. That's my Soprano. I'm a Soprano fan. Soprano. It's so much to cover in this stuff, man. It's so much to cover. Yeah, it's so much. It's all. I don't know. It's the way we gonna take it, but I want to play some things because I'm in an hour in. I hope y'all need to go see the movie One Night in Miami and form your own opinion about it. It's important that y'all go see this movie and have your own opinions about it and share that with other people. But I do highly recommend y'all seeing the movie. From my understanding, Malcolm was a very funny cat. And I'm gonna play something from Dick Gregory right now that talks about his relationship with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. and Malcolm X. See, I want to make something called One Night in Harlem. I can have Dick Gregory, Malcolm X, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and Red Fox all together for One Night in Harlem, like they did for One Night in Miami. And they all knew each other, you know. And Dick was very close to Adam and Malcolm. And, you know, Malcolm had a relationship with Red Fox. I think they call Red Fox, y'all can correct me. I know Red Fox was born in St. Louis, but I believe they call him Chicago Red. They call Malcolm Detroit Red. I think they call Red Fox Chicago Red, or he might have been called St. Louis Red, but he was a red, like, you know. I do that stuff too sometimes with people. Because I know I got a thing for red bones and brown women, but red bones, I like to name them. Cali Red, you know who you are. DC Red, Memphis Red, Vegas Red. But anyway, I'm gonna play this quick thing with Dick Gregory. I'll be right back, man. I'll play a couple of clips. This stuff is crazy, man. I can't believe I'm doing this review right now. I like y'all need to go see that movie. It's on Amazon Prime. Y'all know somebody got Amazon Prime. Hell, y'all go see that movie.
I want actually one more thing. I know Rosa Parks, they're gonna do a tribute to her coming up this week. But what about a tribute to Representative Adam Clayton Powell Jr.? I mean, he did a lot for us, and he always he got forgotten about, so to speak, over the years.
Yeah, because he did with arrogance. He told white folks to kiss his butt, you know. And so that happens. That's the price you pay. Price you pay when you do it your way. And so no, he's in 1935, man. Adam Clayton Powell was leading marches on Factory Avenue because they wouldn't hire no Negroes. Adam Clayton Powell, one of the brilliant minds, man. I mean, he was all the social legislation that's respected around the world today. Adam Powell wrote that. The only good thing about it, in a sad way, that when the universal God pick you, it leaves no footprints. You don't have to be validated. But it'd be nice for him to get his chest there in court. Maybe that's our job to do. That's our job.
I mean, you actually knew him, though. You personally knew him.
We used to hang out, drink together, went to Bimini together. Always, what a brother, what a brother. We'd always go check Malcolm out, laugh at him, laugh at him. Malcolm was a funny dude, man. You get to meet him and Adam together, man. You ain't seen no fun. We tell Malcolm, okay, doctor, we're going to let you go on to bed now, go to prayer meeting. We're going out and get us some barbecue ribs and a couple of white ladies. We'll catch you tomorrow when we're tired.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was Dick Gregory talking about hanging out with the great Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was arguably the greatest politician of color we ever sent to the Congress. He got it done. He's the father of the Great Society program Lyndon B. Johnson tried to do. He created the seed money for the National Endowment for the Arts. He also advocated for affirmative action. And Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was doing stuff in the 30s that Dr. King and them were finally doing in the 50s and 60s. He was boycotting buses and stuff up in New York, boycotting businesses that wouldn't hire black people up in Harlem, doing a lot of amazing things for black people, and had one of the largest churches in the country, Abyssinia Church up in New York, in Harlem. And it was interesting about him and Dr. King. They both were men who were sons of prominent ministers. There's nationally recognized ministers, but they had to do it their own way. And Adam Clayton Powell Jr. actually died on April 4th, 1972 in Bimini, 4 years after Dr. King. Dr. King died on April 4th, 1968. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. died April 4th, 1972 in Bimini. He was cremated. I believe he was murdered by the government. They gave him that cancer, that they gave Stokely that package. This is what they do to us. But Adam could have passed for white. He chose to be black. So you gotta look at, y'all gotta know, he was the first, I believe, black representative that was a Democrat from the Northeast in Congress. So you when you think about Adam Clayton Powell Jr., you think about Kamala Harris, you think about Barack Obama, what they did for black people. He could pass for white. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. could live his life as a white man and still have luxury. But he chose to be an honest broker. Like he said, with the white guys, they do this in Congress, and I'm letting y'all know what I'm doing. I'm using money for my mistresses and stuff like that, but I'm doing stuff for the people. He really believed in that, serving the people. So, and guess what they replaced him with? Charlie Rangel. I call him Mr. Pringles. He's this greasy looking dude. He's a slumlord. Charlie Rangel. He's still around in the 90s. But see, we love our traitors, but hate our heroes. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was the best of us. And look at some stuff. Look at that movie, Keep the Faith, baby. Starring Harry Lennox III as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And then you got Vanessa Williams playing his wife, Hazel Scott. Y'all even remember Hazel Scott. She was a phenomenal musician. She was like the first black woman to have a TV show, I believe, back in the day. And she was a hell of a piano player. But she was married to Adam Clayton Powell Jr. at one point. So look up Hazel Scott. Look up Adam Clayton Powell Jr. This is why We All Be exists. We knew black media. How y'all get a lot of this type of information from other new black media places? I don't care about gossip no more. You know what they did to Adam Clayton Powell Jr.? They put him in a dress. You remember that Bumpy Johnson show with Forrest Whitaker? Y'all went crazy over the big head Malcolm dude. You know, he looked like Malcolm, but he had, he was short, but he had a big head. He's from St. Louis too, the guy who played Malcolm in that. But they had Adam Clayton Powell played by Giancarlo Esposito. And I like Giancarlo. He's a great character actor. He's one of my favorite character actors of all time. But, he was funny, but they disrespected Adam Clayton Powell Jr. I feel like Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was a tall man. He was about 6'4", 6'3". So he was about around Malcolm's height. And he could pass for white. Because Giancarlo, he's on the brown side. I'm a stickler for that type of stuff. He's short too. But they had him dressed as a woman because he was trying to hide from the mob. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. called the mob out on the floor of Congress for the Congressional Record. He called it by names. He said, why is it that all my constituents who are black getting arrested by the police, but they don't control the numbers? They're not running the drugs in Harlem. But these are the people who are running drugs and control the number racket in Harlem. These Italian guys, the Italian name, probably a lot of them don't even have citizenship because Carlo Gambino did not even have citizenship status when he died in luxury back in the 70s. Carlo Gambino came over here back in the early 20s, never got citizenship, but controlled judges and businesses and everything. Construction. Come on, y'all. He died in his surrounded by family and loved ones of natural causes. But no, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. he had no fear, man. But in that show, they portrayed him like he was effeminate, that he was scary and all that stuff. That's not Adam Clayton Powell. Now, maybe flamboyant. I think he had a powder blue Jaguar. He used to speed in Washington, D.C. He used to speed down the street. And his baby powder blue Jaguar, I believe it was baby powder blue. I don't know. But he had a Jaguar. And he wasn't afraid about showing people who he was and who he was screwing. And he was a minister. But we don't talk about Adam Clayton Powell Jr. that much, right? But also I want to play. Yeah, Hazel Scott was amazing. She said she played 2 pianos. I mean, Nat King Cole. We don't talk about this. Nat King Cole had a very successful TV show, but because the sponsors didn't want to sponsor a black man being on a show. See, the people love Nat King Cole, but they didn't want to sponsor a show with a black man as dark as Nat King Cole. Yeah, I'm just dropping names. Let me play something. See, I'm gonna play some things about Malcolm and but go see the movie, y'all. It's a lot of interesting things, man. I got this archive of stuff. I didn't know I'm gonna use it for this moment. It's very fascinating. Well, I talked about Dr. Manny Marable, right? Well, I'm gonna play something I did. Like I did an interview with Dr. Manny Marable back in 4th of July weekend 2007. We talked about his book that was not gonna be released until 2011. He talked about, just trying to call Malcolm gay and all this stuff. And he talked about Alex Haley and stuff like that. So I'm gonna play this from Dr. Manny Marable, who's deceased now. And this is We All Be. News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Okay.
Haley's objective was entirely different. Haley was a Republican. He was black, but he was a Republican, liberal Republican. He was an integrationist. Malcolm was a black nationalist. Mm-hmm. Haley despised what the Nation of Islam stood for, but he was fascinated and riveted by the charismatic personality of Malcolm. So the two men collaborated on the book for different reasons. As the book was being written, Malcolm's view of the nation changed, and the listeners will recall that Malcolm was silenced by Elijah Muhammad after the so-called chickens come home to roost statement by Malcolm on the death of John F. Kennedy. This was simply used as an excuse to eliminate Malcolm from the organization by Elijah Muhammad. When Malcolm departed the nation in March 1964, and then the next month going to Mecca on a Hajj, a religious pilgrimage, he transformed his faith to that of Sunni Islam, Orthodox Islam. And so therefore, the purpose of the autobiography was not to praise Elijah Muhammad, but rather to explain why he had changed. And so Malcolm, supposedly, according to Haley, himself eliminated 3 chapters that he and Haley had prepared when he was still in the Nation of Islam and jettisoned them from the book. Now, it's hard for us to make a critical judgment if that's true or not, because after all, Malcolm was dead after February 21st, 1965. We only have Haley's word to go on it. Haley was hostile to Malcolm in the Nation anyway. And the chapters contained critical political information about how Malcolm wanted to build a broadly based Black United Front to fight against racism. I always, for years, would read the autobiography and sense, something's missing from this book.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was missing? Malcolm was the most overtly political personality of his generation. He was building a new organization, the OAAU, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Answer this question. Where is the political program of the OAAU in his book? It's not there, is it?
No,
Where is the political strategy to unite and empower the Black community? It's not in his autobiography. He talks around it, but he doesn't talk to it. The answer is that a lot of that was deleted. So where are these chapters? Well, as of the last time I checked, they're in a safe in Detroit in the possession of an attorney, Gregory Reed, who purchased them in late 1992 for $100,000 at an auction after the death of Alex Haley, and he picked them up at the estate auction.
I mean, was it done after Malcolm's death, the deletion of these 3 chapters of the?
Well, Haley says that Malcolm had agreed to it, so we have only his word to go on. But you also have to keep in mind Haley was hostile to Malcolm when he was Malcolm's politics when he was in the Nation of Islam. So I'm not certain.
Well, was the Haley have connection to the FBI? Was he like a FBI agent?
He was not an agent, but he was an informant. And if you've obviously read, or at least part of Living Black History, my book that came out in 2006,
yes, sir,
where I stunned many people with the evidence that I found at the University of Tennessee Archives in Knoxville, in the Anne Romaine papers, and also in Haley's papers, that Haley in 1962 was approached by the FBI, and they funneled information to him and a white author, Alfred Balk, to write an attack on the Nation of Islam entitled The Black Merchants of Hate, which appeared in the Saturday Evening Post magazine in late February 1963. And it was information from the FBI. So he was an agent, he was an informant, in effect, the purveyor of misinformation. And it was that man who went on to then, of course, write Roots.
Right, and he had some trouble with that too. I mean, as far as
yes, indeed, being sued by a British author successfully, settlement out of court for over $1 million for plagiarism of extensive writing from the British author's work. So Haley has a very mixed history.
Connect the dots. La 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 la. Connect the dots. So, as Haley was naval intelligence, according from my research and Baba Dick Gregory, The guy who wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X, was actually the Playboy editor, Alex Haley's boss at one time. Because Alex Haley, he worked as a journalist for Playboy. Murray Fisher allegedly wrote the actual autobiography for Malcolm X. It wasn't Alex Haley. And the guy he talked about, Dr. Harold Corlander, he wrote a book called The African that was the basis for Alex Haley's roots. This is all part of public record. So y'all celebrating Alex Haley, he's a fraud. And it's interesting because my mom actually organized the volunteers for his funeral. I remember seeing Alex Haley's going to his wake and seeing him in the coffin in Memphis. But my mom, she loved volunteers. She got me volunteer at the National Civil Rights Museum and all that stuff. But, you got to think about it. If you wrote one of the best-selling books of all time, like he wrote 2 best-selling books, right? If you write the autobiography of Malcolm X and you wrote Roots, how come your estate was broke? How come you broke? It's like J.K. Rowling. She wrote Harry Potter. She's a billionaire. She should never have a problem with her estate. But I think Alex Haley was like, his estate was bleeding money. He owed a lot of people money. Supposedly. You can look into all that. But I'm going to play Baba Dick Gregory, what he got to say about it. I mean, y'all got to look at him. He was sued in court. He had to do a big settlement with Dr. Harold Corlander. They sued him because Roots is based on the book The African. Y'all can look at all this stuff online. Look it all up online. So I'm gonna play Dick Gregory, what he got to say. See, I didn't know that I'll be using these interviews for stuff like this. Like Dick is talking from the grave. Dick Gregory talks to me all the time, and I know there's people kind of, what the hell you talking about? That man be telling me to tell y'all stuff all the time. He said, "Ron, just go ahead and tell." I said, "Man, come on, man." He said, "Ron, just drop the information like the righteous ancestors told me." He said, "Look, Ron, we promise you, if you just keep on doing this work, get all these stories out there that we're telling you to get out there, and we'll take care of you some type of way. Don't worry about it." So I'm gonna do what they tell me to do. But I'm gonna play this, and y'all peep game. This is Dick Gregory telling y'all. This ain't Brother Ron. I don't say Brother Ron, we're gonna do a lawsuit. No, this is Dick Gregory saying this. And nobody ain't sued Dick Gregory or his estate. So evidently he's saying something that's hidden. And he told me stuff off the record that I'm not gonna share right now. I'm gonna let somebody else break those stories. I don't have time for it. I don't know. I recorded him saying that stuff. Anyway, I ain't worry about it.
I'm gonna give you an assignment, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna tell you where to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia University.
Mm-hmm.
Where Thurgood Marshall's papers are, and look at the nasty stuff he not only said about King, but about Howard University.
Thurgood Marshall.
Mm-hmm. And you know Thurgood Marshall, we find out under the Freedom of Information Act, he was an agent for Hoover. You know that?
Yes, sir. FBI informant. Yes, sir.
No, I just asked you, did you know it? Because I know your mama don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. They don't want to know. Like how
no, it ain't that. Why would they know? You keep jumping to conclusions.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something about you. Once the universal God let you wear the magic glasses and you have them, you can never take them off, and you can never force nobody else to wear them. That's one of the privileges you have. If you're the greatest home run hit in the world, why you go out look at some little children play and say they can't hit like me? They ain't supposed to hit like you. Huh?
Yes, sir.
And so the other thing about the magic glasses, once you put them on, you don't see things as they're supposed to be. You see them as they are.
Yes, sir.
All right? So that's what that's about. There's a whole lot of people listening to this now. Oh, my God. Stop it. Marshall. Oh. And he said his excuse from the family is he was trying to guarantee Hoover that there wasn't no communists in the civil rights movement. But how many people died because of them reports he was turning in? Okay? Alex Haley. I told you before, he ain't wrote none of that stuff about now. Alex Haley came out of naval intelligence sit there to make sure Malcolm was killed right. And when he was killed, they changed all the stuff in the books. Matter of fact, they had on page 122 that I was the one that told Elijah Muhammad about I told Malcolm about how Elijah was winning. Now, who wouldn't believe it the way Alex Haley was at them right there? And I kept telling Malcolm, I said, man, you do. And you also know that Kunta Kinte, came out of that white boy's book. You know that, right?
Yeah, Harold Coleman, the African, yes.
Coleman, the African. And one of the things you should do so your people will have a good service, you need to punch up the trial. You know, the trial took place in federal court about him stealing that out of Harry Colombi. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Out of federal court in upstate New York. Well, you need to bring that in and read what the federal judge said and made him and the publisher pay Colombi $650,000 and chastised him in open court. As long as I've been a judge dealing with this, I've never seen anything as filthy as what you all just did. Okay? And I demand that you apologize, admit it and apologize, you know, and they did, so it's there. Now, let's look at something else. That movie, you can probably find this. I hate to keep giving you a sign. To see how much money, all of that stuff that Alex was supposed to have put on paper, see how much of it, royalties, hundreds of millions of dollars, royalty, it was so big, man. So big, so big, so big. When Alex died, and you really need to look this up, he lost his farm in Memphis to pay off his creditors. Did you know that?
Oh, yes, I heard about him having some financial difficulties in his estate.
The reason you have to know that, if he's drawing, see, here's the thing about pumping. If I owe you $100,000 and I'm an alcoholic and a drunk and a gambler, you don't have to worry about me spending all the money because the royalties come in every 6 months. All your lawyer got to do is go into court and put a hold on my royalties. So why is somebody going to take 2 cents on the dollar to get all of it? Because he never had it, okay? He never, ever, ever had it, huh? That's the game. And that's how you can trick people when they don't like themselves. They'll take anything that the white supremacists tell them. And remember, the white supremacists ain't no Ku Klux Klan. They killed him on the way to get me.
And that's Bobby Dick Gregory from the grave. From the grave. Telling y'all about Thurgood Marshall and and Alex Haley, our good brothers. See, Judge don't like that. Judge Joe Brown. That's because like Thurgood's one of his heroes. And it's complicated. You know, I remember I interviewed the sister who did the documentary Spies of Mississippi about how some black people was working for the White Citizen Council and the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission, snitching and getting black folks set up for the fall. And I told her that, and she's a Thurgood Marshall fan. Her name is Dawn Porter, and she did that documentary about John Lewis called Good Trouble. But I interviewed her about her Spies of Mississippi. I think you can see it on Amazon Prime, or maybe it's online. You can see it somewhere for free. And she got upset about it, even though I had the receipts showing that Thurgood was an FBI informant. Thurgood didn't care nothing about no Malcolm X or no Dr. King. I remember like reading somewhere that he was at a convention for police chiefs or something, I believe in North Carolina or somewhere in the Carolinas. And he basically told them that the black Muslims, that he had put targets on them. This is Thurgood Marshall, who will come down to the Regional Council of Negro Leadership meetings down in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, not that far away from Memphis. You have like 10,000 to 20,000 black people come together to talk about black economics and the right to vote down there in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. And Thurgood Marshall will be a keynote, but he didn't like Dr. T.R.M. Howard, who organized those things. He didn't care for Dr. T.R.M. Howard. Y'all don't even know who Dr. T.R.M. Howard was. This man was the wealthiest black man in Mississippi back in the 40s and 50s. He financed the private investigation into what really happened to Emmett Till. This is how we knew it was more than the brothers who participated, that there were black folks involved in the kidnapping and lynching of Emmett Till because of T.R.M. Howard, who was a mentor or jegna to Medgar Evers, as well as his brother Charles Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer and other people. He ended up getting chased out of Mississippi, went to Chicago, opened up a hospital on the South Side, gave Jesse Jackson the seed money to start Rainbow Coalition or Operation Push in his mansion. He was one of the first black national leaders to raise money for Malcolm X's widow and family. That's Dr. T.I.M. Howard. Look him up. He was a well-known orator before Dr. King. Matter of fact, he spoke at Martin Luther King's Dexter Avenue Baptist Church down in Montgomery back in November of 55. He was talking about the Emmett Till case. He was on a speaking tour for the NAACP fundraising to talk about the case of Emmett Till. So he was speaking there, standing room only, and Rosa Parks was there. As y'all can recall, Rosa Parks said she was thinking about Emmett Till's face and his story when she refused to get up from her seat, which from my understanding was actually in the color section. She was not even sitting in the whites only section. She was sitting in the color section, and they wanted her to get up for a white man that was even her age. Because Rosa was like 42. I don't know. I think the white man was younger than her, but the fact that you wanted her to give up a seat, a woman for a man, and she was in the color section, according to eyewitnesses, from my understanding. So that's another story inside the story that we don't talk about because we don't know our history. But it's complicated. But he was an FBI informant. Just like Ernest Withers was an FBI informant, the famous civil rights photographer who also captured the photographs at the Emmett Till murder trial. He was the one that showed Mose Wright pointing to the white man, said, "There they be." That's Ernest Withers, the famous civil rights photographer from Memphis. Had a chance to meet Ernest Withers. I know his family. I had a chance to talk to him in his studio on Beale Street. Interesting conversation. It's like a decent man, but he was like one of the first black police officers in Memphis history in the modern era. And back then, black police officers could not arrest white people in Memphis. This is back in the 40s and 50s and whatnot. So anyway, let me it's a lot to digest here. Let me see what else I want to play. Like I said, there's other YouTube channels. Y'all can't dig the information. Nobody ain't trying to dig out. You Negroes still playing the same game. See, one thing about white people, they are students of history. They know stuff. Like the stock market's based on information. It's not based on money. Everything that's dealing with power is based on information. CIA, FBI, Wall Street, Dow Jones. Anything dealing with power is based on information. Money is like diamonds are not really worth anything. It's only worth something because they say it's worth something. You understand? So what are you worth really? So it just things to get through. Trying to play this stuff. Oh, somebody asked about colorism. Sister Gina, about the colorism thing. And let me touch on that a little bit. In the scene where Jim Brown character is talking to Malcolm X, and he was saying, why is it seems always the light-skinned brothers or sisters that be the most militant among us? And he said how Malcolm kind of hesitated, trying to figure out, he knew what he was talking about. That is interesting, like light-skinned people be the most militant, right? Like Ida B. Wells or Malcolm X or Dr. Du Bois, these light-skinned folk, they the one that fighting the hardest and stuff. Even think about Rosa Parks, she was fair-skinned. Her grandfather was a Garveyite. He was a follower and admirer of Marcus Garvey, even though Marcus Garvey didn't trust light-skinned black folks or fair-skinned black people, allegedly. So, he was mad about that, but he still was a Garveyite in his heart. As Rosa Parks' grandfather used to go around toting guns, believed in the Second Amendment. Rosa Parks believed in the Second Amendment. She did the eulogy for Robert F. Williams, Negroes with Guns. She did his eulogy back in October 1996. So, I don't know. It's like you look at a lot of civil rights leaders, a lot of them like white women. Even Marcus Garvey had a white female playmate growing up in Jamaica. Then one day, that day came when she couldn't play with him no more because they got too big. So he had a white playmate, a white female playmate growing up in Jamaica. You think about Dr. King had a thing. I guess he was in love with this white German cafeteria worker at seminary. He wanted to marry this white German lady who was a cafeteria worker. And the family did not approve, not necessarily because she was white, but because she was below his social economic status. You see, Dr. King was upper middle class for black people. Dr. King was black royalty. He was black. He part of that black elite, part of the black boule. So why would you marry some type of working class white German woman who was a cafeteria lady? That's beneath your station, Dr. King. Dr. King folks wanted him to marry Maynard Jackson's aunt. You know, Maynard Jackson was the first black mayor of Atlanta. Their families were close because they were political allies. So, you know, they were part of the black elite of Atlanta. So they wanted Dr. King to marry Maynard Jackson's aunt, but Dr. King ended up marrying Coretta, who was also, I think Maynard Jackson's aunt was an opera singer, and Coretta was training to be an opera singer. You know, Coretta went to Antioch College. That's where Dave Chappelle taught at. And also Dave Chappelle lived in Yellow Springs. I think Antioch College is located in Yellow Springs, right? Yellow Springs, Ohio. So Coretta ended up hooking up with Dr. King, and the rest is history. Coretta the Taurus hooked up with Dr. King, the Capricorn, and the rest is history. That's why we know about Dr. King, because Coretta. Yeah, Claudette Colvin, yeah, the 50-year-old sister. She lives in New York, I think. I'm gonna try to reach out to her and see if she want to do an interview. Cause I did give her a We All Be Lifetime Achievement Award, but she was 50, not only because she was dark skinned, but also because she was pregnant with a married man's child. Like she was having an affair with a married man, and she was pregnant with his child, and she was dark skinned as well. So it's politics that plays in it. Yeah, Rosa Parks was chose because, you know, first of all, she's NAACP secretary. She, you know, she was married and she was fair skinned. That did play a part in it. You are correct, Barry Smith. But that's how history is. History is very political. Yeah, Claudette Colvin's still around. I think her son is died some years ago, but she's still around. I think she lives in New York. And I spoke to her on the phone about maybe 5 years ago. But I need to follow up with her and check in. But she was pregnant by a minister, so she was 15 years old, pregnant, and dark skinned. So that I heard she had a hot temper, or this is what they use. Oh, she was very, like, you know, they're sassy. You know how they do it. But Pimp C, I mean, Pimp C is interesting. He died on December 4th, like Fred Hampton Sr., and he was born on December 22nd, like Fred Hampton Jr. Pimp C, nobody dies a natural death in show business, man. That what the old timers tell me. Nobody dies a natural death in show business. Sam Cooke didn't die. Matter of fact, that movie was interested by One Night in Miami. You know, that event with Muhammad Ali fighting Sonny Liston took place February 25th, 1964. By the time February 25th, 1965 rolls around, half of the people featured in the movie are dead. You know, Sam Cooke got killed December 11, 1964. He didn't even make it out of 64. Malcolm got killed February 21st, 1965. So you had half of the people already dead by that time. You got to think about, you know, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke born January 22nd. So Sam Cooke was already 33 years old at the time of the fight. Malcolm was 38. Jim Brown retired from football at 29. He was born February 17th, 1936. So he just had his birthday. So he was like 28. And Muhammad Ali was just 22, I believe. Because Mike Tyson got the record now, because Mike Tyson was 20 when he became the heavyweight champion of the world. So that's the new record. But Muhammad was just 22. So, but by the next year, two of the people are already dead. So they were targeted. They were targeted for elimination. Like Sam Cooke, that was true about him when he thought about Bob Dylan's song "Candle in the Wind." He said, "Oh, black person should have wrote that song." But then about Bob Dylan, though, Bob Dylan wrote a song about Emmett Till. Y'all should check out the song he did about Emmett Till back in the day. Bob Dylan was a white boy named Zimmerman from Minnesota, of all places. But he loved that chocolate. He loved black women. Bob Dylan loved black women. You know, y'all talk about Mavis Staples. He was going, but there was another sister I know personally named Dory Latner, who's from Mississippi. She used to work with Medgar Evers, and she was a college student down at Tougaloo College outside of Jackson. Bob Dylan used to go down there to visit her. And even Bob Dylan wrote a love song about Dory Latner. Bob Dylan got interracial kids. And Bob Dylan loved dark meat. But he was writing songs about the movement during that time period as well. So, yeah. And that inspired Sam Cooke to write A Change Gonna Come. Now, you know what's interesting about this movie? One of the producers of the movie is APCO. That's the corporation that owns Sam Cooke's music. That was started by his so-called business partner, Alan Klein, this Jewish accountant from New Jersey. You know, in the movie, Sam Cooke talked about how he made his money. Like he said, I want the recipe. I don't want the pie. I want the recipe. So he was telling, you know, how he was telling Malcolm X how he made money off the white boys that came over, the British invasion. Now we got a new British invasion in 2021, but we don't want this British invasion, right? Because it's COVID. It's the COVIDs. This the new British invasion. We don't want this one. But back then, you know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones came over. We talk about how the Bobby Womack and the Valentino song was borrowed by the Rolling Stone, whereas they went to 94 in the top 100, the Rolling Stones went all the way to number 1 for Bullet, right? So, you know, Sam was talking about how, you know, Bobby Womack was mad at first, then he got his first royalty check 6 months later, and he wasn't mad no more, because they wrote that song, and they didn't, you know, whatever. But here's the thing. Alan Klein, business partner, not only allegedly messed over Sam Cooke, because Sam Cooke thought he owned his stuff, then he found out he didn't own what he thought he owned, and before he could confront Alan Klein and get his business affairs in order, he's murdered at this City Hotel in Watts at the age of 33. Think about Nipsey Hussle, excuse me, murdered at the age 33. Like Sam Cooke, under questionable circumstances. Think about that real estate that he owned. It was standing in the way of them building the railway system and that multi-billion-dollar stadium for the Los Angeles Rams. Nipsey owned a lot of high-quality real estate. May have got him killed. Sam owned a lot of hot intellectual property. May have got him killed. He didn't want to play ball with the mob. He didn't want to play ball with the mob. So he talked about that thing he did. But Alan Klein, his business partner, allegedly messed over the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. A lot of songs they won't perform from their early career because when they perform those songs or record them, they don't get no money from them. I'm talking about Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. Shit, Alan Klein broke up the Beatles. I call them the Beatles. Paul McCartney sued to break his contract with the Beatles because he don't want to deal no business with Alan Klein. See, it ain't about black and white. The only color that matter in business is green and the color of character that you're dealing with. It ain't about your skin. It's about the color of your character. It's about the color of money. So, but it's funny that they helped produce this movie One Night in Miami, the APCO people. And they also got Sam Cooke talking about the Beatles and Rolling Stones and himself. And all three of them were screwed over by the same corporation. You know, Alan Klein died from complications from Alzheimer's back in 2009, but his folks still eating off of Sam Cooke. And I know his wife, from my understanding, Barbara, who was featured in the movie, who got sent home. See, that what they don't talk about in the movie, the coldness about Barbara and Sam. Like she said, you haven't sung to me in a while. You want to know why? Find out what happened to his son, Vincent. Now I'm going to tell you what happened to Vincent. Vincent was Sam Cooke's son by Barbara, and he drowned in the family swimming pool. Allegedly, Barbara was not paying attention because she was doing something. I don't know. I think she was doing something she should have been doing at that time. Let me put it that way. Allegedly, y'all do research there on your own. You know, Bobby Womack wrote about the book about, you know, his life. Bobby Womack married Sam Cooke's widow. He got a beat down from L.C. Cooke. L.C. was mentioned in the movie. That's Sam Cooke's brother, who just passed away maybe like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. They beat him down real good. They knocked his teeth back into his mouth. They beat Bobby Womack up so bad. And also, Bobby slept with Sam's daughter. Linda. So he slept with Sam's daughter while he was married to Sam's widow. Then his brother Cecil, who passed away not too long ago, like Bobby, he ended up marrying Linda, and they moved to Africa. So, why we gotta lie about our people? Just tell the truth about our history. Bobby talked about that. Bobby had a son with Barbara named Vincent after Sam Cooke's son. Vincent died tragically young. I think he was involved in drugs. Bobby Womack had a son. I wish you wouldn't trust me so much. I wish you wouldn't trust me so much. I think you're talking about Sam Cooke, but that song came out years later. But I mean, this stuff is messy. And Bobby was like Sam's little brother. That was his protege. So I'm not kidding you. I wish I was. It's so many stories. Bobby talked about that in his book. He slept with Sam's daughter, Linda, while he was married to Barbara. And Barbara almost killed him for it. I think Barbara shot at him, almost hit him in the head. Bobby his life been filled with a lot of tragedy. I love this song, Harry the Hippie, or whatever they call it, Harry the Hippie. He say, but his life was filled with a lot of tragedy, man. Now he had a Hall of Fame career and all that stuff. He had some great hits, but man, he lived those blues he sung about. Bobby Womack lived those blues, man. I think he had a brother got killed by a jealous girlfriend. Not his girlfriend. His brother was killed because his girlfriend, the brother's girlfriend, thought he was cheating on her. But I think the underwear that she found in the bedrooms from one of Bobby Womack's girls. I don't know. Just look into his. It's just so much stuff. Nobody dies a natural death in show business. But that's something. Yeah, the people that's eating off of Sam Cooke, they and the family not getting no money off of it. You know, they are the producers of this movie. So let me see what I could play. Oh, I also want to play this about, y'all remember Malcolm X's grandson got killed in Mexico City, right? Back in 2013, May 2013. Malcolm Shabazz, who's just 28 years young, under questionable circumstances. We still don't know what happened. See, I don't understand why the government ain't been forthcoming on that, like what happened to that brother. Because he's a son of a legendary, man, American icon. Why they have not told us the truth about what happened to Malcolm Shabazz. But Malcolm Shabazz actually listened to We All Be TV. And he was an admirer of Dick Gregory. He said he was the last honest man left. And Dick broke down what happened. Y'all remember that year? I'm going to tell y'all something. Back in 2013, right, before Malcolm Shabazz was killed or assassinated outside the country, they had that Lifetime movie come out called Betty and Coretta. Talk about this friendship between Betty Shabazz and Coretta Scott King, the widows of Malcolm X and Dr. King, respectively. In that movie, they made it their business to character assassinate Malcolm's grandson. Because Malcolm's grandson, I believe, was like 12 years old when his grandmother Betty died in a horrible house fire. They say he started it, but it's a lot of crazy stuff that happened that night. Dick Gregory broke it down on my show. I'm going to play a segment of what he said, and then we'll be right back. But before they kill you physically, they kill your character. Before they kill you as a man or as a woman or as a physical being, they kill your character, your reputation. The last 5 years of Dr. King's life, the fake news, mainstream media made it a business to character assassinate King before the people. A book y'all should read. I'm gonna do a King special later on today. I'm gonna do several shows, and I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna do y'all maybe about 3 more shows within the next 24 hours. I'm a crazy man, 3 or 4 shows, and I'm taking a break. The Plot to Kill King. Read this book, discuss this book, start a study group. So basically, Dr. William Pepper, who was James Earl Ray's lawyer and also a friend of the King family, he was involved in a civil court case that found on December 8th of 1999 that the U.S. government was guilty of or complicit in the assassination of Dr. King. And y'all got to read this book. This is a part of a trilogy that he wrote. So it basically is the update, and that's the final trilogy or the final book in the update. So it's like 3 books, an active state, and all that stuff. But this is the last book, The Plot to Kill King. I interviewed Dr. William Pepper on We All Be back in 2017 to talk about this book. But the reason I bring this up because like what happened with Trump with censorship, like how they blamed the storming of the Capitol on Trump. But they did the same thing to Dr. King in Memphis. His last march was sabotaged by agent provocateurs. Like, you know, when he was in Memphis on Thursday, March 28th, 1968, he was trying to lead a peaceful march to City Hall, I believe. And it was disrupted by some agent provocateurs that like they were young black people. They really was agent provocateurs. So the government and the media blamed Dr. King for the riot. They said, well, you know, Dr. King, how is it that you're a man of peace, but yet your march became a riot? You know, people looting and rioting. And they blamed it on Dr. King, and Dr. King was not responsible. And then what they did, they race shamed Dr. King. Dr. King would normally stay at the Riverfront Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn was founded in Memphis back in the 50s by Kemmons Wilson. I think his name Kemmons Wilson or Wilson Kemmons or something like that. Y'all know, y'all look it up, hell. But he stayed at the white hotels. And so the media said, how can Dr. King be a race man and he stayed at white-owned hotels? Because their thing was, we're trying to integrate, you know, society. So I'm going to stay, and then also the hotel was probably way better than the black hotels in terms of stuff, you know, because the white hotel. So they shamed him to stay into Lorraine Motel. And normally he wouldn't stay at the Lorraine Motel. He would stay at the Holiday Inn. But he went up staying there. Not only did he end up staying there, but they changed his room. He had a secluded room on the lower level, and they put him up in room 306. 3 plus 0 plus 6 is 9, right? 9 means the end of a cycle in numerology, right? So they put him up in room 306. They changed his room. Come to find out that one of the people at the SCLC, Jimmy Harrison, part of the staff of the SCLC, he was an FBI informant. So he was responsible for knowing the whereabouts of Dr. King at all times. So he actually reported to the FBI the day Dr. King was assassinated. But somebody from the SCLC changed Dr. King's room from a secluded spot that was hard to get to that open balcony spot on room 306. So in the media at that time, I saw clips of the local news saying, well, Dr. King is stayed at Lorraine Motel, room 306. Why would they tell his room on the local news? It's so much foolery, but read this book as a starter. And I got hours and hours of interviews of people I did that talk about the King assassination, including Dr. William Pepper and Dick Gregory and police officers who worked his route. Because normally when Dr. King would come to Memphis, he had an all-black police security detail. And the last time he came to Memphis, he had no protection. Same thing with Malcolm X. When Malcolm spoke at the Audubon, he normally had 36 police officers at the Audubon. There were no police officers on the scene until after he got shot. They were far away. Then once he got shot, they came. It's like with Dr. King, there were no police nearby. They was off a ways. But once he was shot, they all came out of nowhere. But Malcolm Shabazz, they did that movie to assassinate that man's character because he probably been going to a film festival in Iran and he was denied access to Iran. They said the FBI withheld them. They were, from my understanding. But think about Malcolm X when Malcolm X was trying to go to France and they kicked him out the country right before he died because the French authorities knew that Malcolm was a marked man and they did not want Malcolm to be killed in France, in particular Paris. So you trying to tell me that the Nation of Islam had that type of power where they could deny Malcolm X entry into another country? No, man. They say Malcolm X tried to contact the State Department 2 weeks before his demise, saying that his life was in danger. I remember seeing a press conference where James Farmer, the president or leader of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, he said that he had a meeting with Lyndon B. Johnson when he was president. And Lyndon B. Johnson asked him, did they ever find out what happened to that Malcolm fella? And no, James Farmer had an idea that Malcolm was killed by the drug cartels. He was killed by organized crime because you're trying to get drugs out the black community. You're trying to get drugs out of Harlem. I told you earlier, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. knew that the folks who ran the drugs and policy and stuff in Harlem were Italians. They were not black people. And Malcolm was trying to clean up the neighborhoods, like the black mafia family in Philadelphia. He was going to deal with those brothers because Malcolm was against corruption. Malcolm was an honest broker. Even though he was a guy from the streets, he knew how these cats worked and he wanted a clean house. So they couldn't let Malcolm clean no house, whether it be in the black community or in the mosque. They would not allow Malcolm to clean house. They had to kill him. So you look all this stuff up. I'm gonna tell you, look up Zach Kundo, the great researcher out of Maryland, brother Zach Kundo. You know, it's so much stuff out here that don't just take a movie and say, "Oh man, this is the definitive story about everything." These movies have agenda, like with Malcolm's grandson. People forgot about that he was involved some type of way with his grandma's getting burnt alive. No, she survived, but even the movie is kind of weird. How can she be talking if she got severe burns like that over her body? How's she gonna be conscious? They got her sedated and everything. But in the movie, Betty's talking to Coretta. Man, y'all believe all this. Like, y'all believe Mr. Bain was real. I got grown people tomorrow. Yeah, you remember Mr. Baines, man? Mr. Baines saved Malcolm life. Nigga, Mr. Baines ain't even a real person. But because y'all don't do no research, how you gonna talk about Malcolm, not talk about Louis Farrakhan? That's you gotta talk about Louis. That's his protege. But Mr. Baines, man, Mr. Baines was a G. No, he was a stand-in, my nigga. But I'm not shitting on my people. I love my people, but damn. Let me find that clip. I think I got it up. I got a lot of screens open, but thank y'all for being patient. There's a lot of stuff I want to play. I'm not gonna play it tonight, but I'm gonna do some Malcolm X shows. I'm just trying to find. Well, I'll play this clip right quick while I'm finding that Malcolm Shabazz clip. Dick Gregory, he's talking from the grave. Dick want me to play this stuff. So here it is.
Also, Malcolm X, when we sued to get the autopsy, wondering why did the government have the autopsy when that wasn't a federal crime?
Mm-hmm.
Why do the government have the... So we got the autopsy and we found out why. If you remember, Malcolm X was in the Audubon Ballroom speaking. Somebody threw a smoke bomb in the back of the room, and while everybody was stampeding, trying to get out and screaming and howling, 3 blacks ran up to the front of the stage with guns and fired up at Malcolm. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When we get to autopsy, all the bullets in Malcolm is going down, which means the CIA and them didn't trust them Negroes enough to give them real bullets.
Mm.
And then the CIA have admitted now that they did rinse the Audubon Ballroom 2 weeks before Malcolm was in. That's where they cut the panels, and they didn't say this. I'm saying that's where they cut the panels in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been going on and on and on.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy 2021. That's Baba from the grave, man. Baba's omnipresent. I be thinking about to do it every day. He be in my head. But yeah, y'all think about y'all one thing. People want to contest that. Well, brother Ron, what did look, man? Look, I'm just out here putting out the information. I don't have time. Dick is a righteous ancestor now. You can't talk to him about that. Not in the normal way, anyway, about that. But anyway, I found that clip. Y'all just bear with me on this. This is about Dick talking about Malcolm's grandson and what happened to him. The same year that movie Betty and Coretta came out, this is when them guns came out. They got rid of brother Malcolm. That's his legacy. So this is what they do. They don't only target you, they target your legacies. They look at the Kennedys, how they killed Kennedys. Yeah, Kennedys are part of all that Illuminati stuff, but they sins of the father, man. The brothers got out of their hand, they got dealt with, and their family is still getting dealt with. You know what I'm saying? Make those deals, man. Them blood oaths and stuff. What I'm saying is they don't just kill you. Look at Kobe. They killed the one daughter that was going to continue his basketball legacy. That's an assassination. They killed it. Man, they murder wholesale. It's murder incorporated, man. Ain't no rap song, ain't no Ja Rule, murder. Now they really killing folks. It's Murder Inc. Probably traded on Wall Street. with Bitcoin. But anyway, that's not funny. But yeah, it's not funny, boy. The one. But here, I found a clip. I'll be back in a minute. But listen what Dick's saying, because a lot of times I find that you just gotta play things for people in the moment, because people gonna take the time to research this stuff. So while I got enough of y'all here, y'all can hear from Baba Dick Gregory. This is part of the interview we did about Malcolm Shabazz, the grandson of Malcolm X. But listen to what he's saying. Really listen to what he's saying. Okay? Okay.
I was with Martin Luther King, and we were discussing the movie for TV, made for
That in
TV.
Coretta. That in Coretta
Yeah.
Lifetime. Okay.
That in Coretta ain't never got on no plane and flew to New York to meet with him. And I said, Martin, she had the children. See, I know this. My son, baby son, used to be financial analyst for the city of New York. And I think this is important to get your research here. To pull up when Betty went to the hospital, burned. She lived in Mount Vernon. You aware of that?
I know, but I think it was Yonkers at that time, though. I had got some information I want to share with you about that too.
Okay, now let's watch this. Let's say when I went by her house, she was living in Mount Vernon. Yonkers, all that's right the same. But she wasn't living in New York City.
Yes, sir.
So when they came and took her out that house, why did they take her to a New York hospital? Why did the person that broke the news to us was the New York mayor and the New York police chief? Because when you come down with a trick, you get the most powerful people you can, so it's more believable.
Yes, sir.
So you saw the New York mayor and New York police chief telling what happened to Betty Shabazz. Huh? Now let me fast forward. I know they expected her to die before she got there. Heck, she didn't. They put a tracheotomy through her throat. So when they got her talking to Coretta in the hospital, she couldn't talk.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And then when at the end, it ended with her grandson standing outside while the police was there. You saw that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they didn't have him looking like a little child. They had him looking like a man the way he looks now. And then he gets into the police car. And then the next day, the FBI grabbed him. He's fixing to get on a plane and fly to Iran. So I said to Martin, I said, you be a little careful because this movie's trying to tell us something. I didn't know they were setting up to kill the boy. I said, but something is getting ready to happen. Now, let me go back to the night the fire hit.
Yes, sir.
I was to Philly the next day to do a health seminar. That's when I find out Betty is at the brink of death. So I called my wife. And I said, baby, why didn't you tell me about Betty? She said, what? I said, don't you know she's almost dead? Greg, I didn't know it. What do you mean you didn't know it? He's one of the most influential people that ever lived on the planet, and something happened to his wife. I called Joe, man. I said, Joe, I need you to do me a favor, man. Check and find out when the story officially broke. Right. I want to know how my wife or somebody didn't get in touch with somebody to come and tell me. He said, broke this morning at 10:30. Oh, it happened last night before 11? And it broke at 10:30 today? Okay. So I'll go in and ask them to kind of move my schedule up on one of the things. And I caught me a train and went up there. Got in a town car and had them take me. And I go there. This is the next night. And I asked her neighbors. And she said, yeah, it was 4 men came here with hoods on. Now, she wasn't talking about Ku Klux Klan. She said, you know, the type of hood you use to hide your face. We don't know if it's black or white. There's white folks up there telling me this.
Right.
And said, and we saw them throw it, and they took the boy with them. And I went around the side, around the corner, and talked to the firefighters. And one guy kind of winked and flipped over and told me that whatever that was they used, just ordinary people can't buy that. Now, the next day, I find out that the son, Malcolm, grandson,
Yes, sir.
he's in detention home. Okay, so then I check, and I find out that this white woman looked out her window and saw him, this little black child, wandering around in the rain with no shoes, no clothes on, just his underwear. She opened the door and said, excuse me, you all right? No, ma'am. A white woman gonna bring in a black person at midnight to their house? And so now the universe had already armed me with what time did it break. That's insignificant, right? Except when I asked her, I said, how did you, and I took the mother with her. I said, we got to be very careful. And when you go to the detention to visit him, take a minister with you and don't say nothing what I'm telling you now, or he'll die in that jail. And so I'm talking to the white lady, and she said, yeah, he was here, and I gave him some hot chocolate, and I said, well, real nice, you know, real nice. I said, we're just so happy we heard that, and the mother, she just wanted to come and thank you. Oh, by the way, how did you know who he was? And she said, well, they've been playing it on the news. She don't know. I know.
Right.
See how God works? When you stop being filthy and mean and evil. I said, the news? No, the news didn't break until 10:30 the next day. Oh, she said, well, I know Percy Sutton. And when he told me, you know, who he was, because he couldn't say he set the house on fire.
Dave was our best friend. Most of the time I felt like they were married, and I was just a bystander.
Because that news hadn't came out yet. Percy Sutton. Oh, Percy Sutton came out of Army intelligence. And that's how he built up that empire. Daddy called me when the daughter, the boy's mother, got framed by the government in Minnesota. You know, was supposed to hire this white boy who was her lover to kill Minister Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
And come to find out he's an undercover FBI informant. So now here this good, because this is a connection to me. So Daddy called me, said, I'm in Minnesota, come to get my daughter out of jail, and they said in 2 days they'll have the arraignment, and she can be released to me. And she said, I'm here with Bill Consular, the lawyer that's supposed to be so good with civil rights and all of that. And 90% of his cases was mob cases and drug cases with the mob. He's nothing but a punk bug. And so she called me 2 days later, crying and screaming. She said, Bill Consular, and Percy Sutton, some kind of way they locked me in my hotel room and went over there and arraigned my daughter without me. Did you hear me?
No.
Without me. Now let's fast forward. The woman said, Percy Sutton. She called him. Now, they don't know I know what really happened. Some of his friends called me last week, and I don't know if they said he heard the tape on your show or some show, what I just told you. And he said, Mr. Gregory's the most honest man. That's what he told him. Honest man in the world. He said what he said, that's what happened. Now he was there. Huh? So now we go up to last Friday, Thursday.
Yes, sir.
And the only paper that broke the news before any white folks was the Amsterdam News.
Mhm.
And they didn't print on that day.
That's right.
But this was a friend of the family, they thought. This woman, this PR woman.
Yeah, Trini Williams, I believe. I think it was
Yeah.
Trini, okay.
So it goes out all over the world.
Mhm.
And then it says the Amsterdam News. So all at once now they're going to let a black person break it.
Mm.
And every time I heard it that night, which wasn't that much, they was talking about, you mean nobody confirmed this with the American Embassy? Huh?
Mm.
A black paper in New York?
Mhm.
See, those are the tricks you look for. Huh?
That's it.
So now it was two different stories. One, it was a robbery.
Mhm.
Another one, somebody threw him off a roof. At two different cities.
Right.
And so now I started calling around. Come to find out some strange Mexicans he had hooked up with.
Mm.
Then the guy said he didn't want to go because he didn't have no money. They said, oh, you don't have to worry about nothing. Now they tell us he had a $1,500 bar bill.
Mhm.
Now, assassinated, just like the Kennedy family. John was killed because he was trying to find out what happened. Robert Kennedy was killed because when he won California, he's a shoo-in to be the presidential nominee for the Democrats. He's killed.
Mhm.
And so that's what they did to this boy. His mama is under brain control. He's under brain control.
Mm.
FBI been harassing him.
Mhm.
So they setting him up. So now he's dead. Now you're going to see, unless this show stops it. I don't mean you, people hear it. Now you're going to see the FBI going to come in after investigating it and said he had hooked up with this Mexican gang to kill Minister Farrakhan. Who wouldn't believe it? Who wouldn't believe it? My grandmother believed that his mama was wanted to kill Farrakhan, okay? And they believed Farrakhan because if you looked at the Coretta thing, they talk more about Farrakhan killing Malcolm, huh?
Mhm.
Because they don't know the high echelon. Private can't make a decision to kill a foreign military officer because that's not like the chain of command. The chain of command, Elijah Muhammad would have to make that decision, not a minister.
Mm.
Okay? And so consequently now, if they wiped out Farrakhan and then they came out and said, we was trying to warn him, he didn't want protection because...
I just want to interject on the Malcolm Shabazz thing. I want to share this with you because this is important.
Please. Yeah.
Because Malcolm Shabazz, he heard our interview. I put it out on YouTube. You talking about the bed in Coretta back in February. He actually put it on his main website. He tweeted it on his Twitter. And this is what he told people and companies what you said was correct. This is a email I got a couple of days ago from a friend of Malcolm Shabazz. It's dated March 25th. I want to read this to you and have you respond to this because this is very important. Because Brother Malcolm said this. This is from March 25th of this year, 2013. He said, Brother Dick Gregory is on point. Only error is that it was Yonkers, not Mount Vernon, but next to each other.
Okay.
But here's what he said. What? But I want you to hear this because this is why you are such a gem. Well, this is what Malcolm said. Well, I never really speak to people about this outside some they found. But when it first happened, I was in the hospital and some detectives came to see me and asked me what happened. Mind you, I'm 12 years old. I told them the truth, and they told me to not say that. Then they made me write a statement, but told me what to say happened. My lawyer, Percy Sultan, I'm just, Percy Sultan, who we know to be CIA. Now, he said, who we know to be CIA, told me to never tell truth or I'll spend the rest of my life in prison, which was probably true. He said this, I don't know how did Gregory know about the hooded man and whatnot. Then I was sent into this program way in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts where they would make me say, I did all this shit I ain't do. And I told me if I did not own up to my actions, I would not get out. So I was made to say I did shit I didn't, and after saying it for so long, shit. So that's what it is. I have some very powerful enemies, and like that, but I'm still here though.
Would you do me a favor? Is that all of it?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm reading what he said. Yeah.
No, I want you to repeat that. No, I know. Wait one minute.
Yeah, we're getting deep in here. I thought I was gonna do like a 1 hour review. I'm doing Dick Gregory's greatest hits, I think. What I'm doing. It's so much stuff, man. This is why I said we cannot let these jokers tell us who our heroes are or define our heroes for us. We got to do the research. We got to reclaim the narrative. It is so imperative. Brother Malcolm X said the media is the most powerful entity on the planet because it influences and controls the minds of the masses. I remember Dick Gregory talking about Dick Gregory had a close relationship with Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Dick Gregory visited in Chicago. Dick lived in Chicago for a number of years. His career really took off playing at the Playboy Club when they had a comedy club in Chicago. People forget that Hugh Hefner used to be headquartered in Chicago. The Playboy enterprise used to be headquartered in Chicago before moving out west. And Dick got his start with Hugh Hefner, playing at the Playboy Club. That's how he became a household name. But Dick, I remember sometimes he would tell me about how Elijah Muhammad would show him this big check he got from somebody in DC. Have a big old check to show him, and Dick talked about that. But I want to talk about this. I think it's very important while we're here. Also, I want to add with Percy Sutton, he was the family lawyer for Malcolm X after he died. And Percy helped arrange a deal with this Hollywood producer named Marvin Worth. He purchased the life rights to Malcolm X's story from his widow, Betty. And I believe Marvin Worth paid her somewhere in the neighborhood like $125,000. Don't quote me on. You can take a look. Just Google it. It should be online. But I think he paid Betty Shabazz $125,000 for the rights to Malcolm's life story. And, think about the movie Malcolm X. They came out, they're created by Spike Lee, right? So I think that was tied to that deal. And so a lot of times people don't understand it takes years sometimes to make a movie to get it green lighted. Or sometimes it doesn't get green lighted, regardless if you sell the rights or not. But Spike Lee was able to raise money from other sources when the studio would not put behind more money for the movie to be made. Y'all remember he went to Dr. Bill Cosby, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Janet Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, all these black folks to help get that movie done. And it's a masterpiece for Spike Lee, but it's historically inaccurate. And Dick talked about that. But I want to say that movie has made a whole bunch of money over the years. But the family, from my understanding, is not getting any of that money, any of that residual income from the Malcolm X movie. So it made a whole bunch of money. It's one of the best movies. It's one of my favorite movies. I haven't seen it in a while, but if I see it, I can watch it for 3 hours and 25 minutes. I can sit through it because it is well done, although it's historically inaccurate, But that's Hollywood. You don't go to Hollywood for your history. You go to your family for your history, and you do your own research for your history. That's how you reclaim your narrative. But their family is not getting no money from that. Like people criticize the King family. You'll be insane too if your family was that scrutinized by the federal government. You gotta understand, the federal government started spying and looking into the King family, starting with Martin's or Michael's maternal grandfather, who ran Ebenezer. They started spying on the King family. You gotta think about they had spies and stuff at Morehouse, maybe with the Alphas. Dr. King was always watched his entire life. He was always watching. He tried to get the bootleg, all that. He's alpha, whatever y'all want to make a founders and all that. I don't really care for all that. But what I'm saying is, y'all trying to act like they supposed to be normal when we not normal. I can't judge the King family how they act. But one thing Coretta did, who was a Torres, she organized his estate. She made sure that the King family got some money out of their suffering. The King family suffered a lot. Not only were they scrutinized by the government before their daddy was born, Dr. King, but also his brother died under questionable circumstances and they drowned in the pool in 69. His mother was shot to death at the Oregon by a Hebrew Israelite allegedly under mind control at Ebenezer Baptist Church back in the 70s. So the King family went through a lot of tragedy. So I'm not going to sit here and judge how the siblings and how they act or don't act and stuff like that. But one thing Coretta did, she had enough sense to organize his estate where the King family benefited economically from his sacrifice. Because Dr. King, he didn't have no money when he died. I mean, his folks had money and resources, but King, like Malcolm, they took a vow of poverty. Everything King got from the Nobel Peace Prize money to whatever went back into the movement. And isn't it interesting they built this big monument to King in D.C., but King spent most of his adult life not having enough money for the movement. But yet these same corporations that he talked about, the same people that was against him about the redistribution of wealth, they the same ones writing these big checks to get this done, to build this monument to this man, to reclaim his narrative, to create a false narrative where he was really you know how they treating Donald Trump right now? That's how they treated King. They treated Donald Trump like a black man who fell from grace. That's why I got identified with what Trump. It's not about the race. Look how they treating the man. They treat him like they treat King. And King wasn't even president, but he was getting a position to affect policy. And that was a no-no for a black man, especially from the South. So, but people look at movies as documentaries because people ain't gonna take the time to read. How many of y'all gonna read a book like this? Look, how it's gonna got that many pictures, it's got words and stuff, ideas and things that make you think. A lot of folks don't want to think; they want to look at football. And watching these sports, to me, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm not judging nobody. It's a waste of time. I'm not gonna look at a 60-minute game that takes 3 or 4 hours to finish. Well, I can look at the highlights on YouTube. Well, I'm gonna waste my time looking at a game. My life is a game. They playing political football with my life. I don't have time to worry about Tom Brady and Drew Brees, where they win, lose, or draw. They getting paid millions of dollars. I'm trying to get a $2,000 stimulus check, and y'all more concerned about people making millions of dollars and the folks that own their teams making billions of dollars, and the network making billions. I don't care. But you know what's strange? As the world's suffering right now, that billionaires are killing it. You got some billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. They are putting themselves in a position to become trillionaires. To be a billionaire is like being a millionaire. It's nothing. But the majority of people suffering is something where we can't get anything. But there's a land of plenty. There's a lot of stuff out here, but they keep away. Yeah, we worry about some foosball. Don't care about James Harden getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Good for him. Good for him. Kudos. LeBron, just shut up and dribble. If you're afraid to stand up to the po-pos, because you're not po no more, then just shut up and dribble. But what I'm saying is, it is what it is. Like in the movie, they treated Malcolm like he was Tommy from Martin. Tommy, you don't have a job. Malcolm did have a job. His job was trying to save his people, but end up destroying himself in the process. But also he was reborn. He was born again. So now he's indestructible. And black folks still afraid of Malcolm. Malcolm told y'all about Democrats. Y'all still voting Democrats. But y'all say y'all love Malcolm. Y'all love the idea of Malcolm, like you Negroes that go to church love an idea about Jesus. Y'all don't want no real Jesus. Y'all don't want Jesus to tell you can't do that. No, forget you, Jesus. Who do you think you are? You think you're the son of God? Well, I am the son of God. No, we don't care. We don't listen to you. Forget you. We did Jesus in. We the real Jews. We did him in. Black folk, we did him in. They couldn't get Marcus Garvey without our consent. They couldn't get Malcolm. They couldn't get Dr. King. They could get none of our people without us participating in their murders. Emmett Till could not get how he get without black folks helping to kidnap and kill him and torture him. So really, we like, oh, woe is me, but it's our fault. Don't you understand? We're responsible. It's like when you look at that Malcolm X documentary from Netflix. You saw them black folks in Newark. Ain't no different from the Negroes in Memphis. Dr. King could not got without black people helping him get got. Same thing with Malcolm. So who's the real enemy? Y'all so gung-ho about having guns and doing some damn. Look, who are we going to get? Who's the real enemy here? Y'all believe the same media. They won't tell you the truth about anything about our heroes. Oh, they must have did it because CNN said, MSNBC. Why would they lie about black people? I had a nurse friend of mine. She's a good person. She tell me, all I asked her was she getting the vaccine? She said, I'm getting this week. That's okay. I ain't say nothing. I ain't judge her, but she brought up some Tuskegee. Said, well, it's not like Tuskegee. Like, there's been medical advances. I said, baby, Tuskegee was not about medical advances. It's about ethics. It's about ethics. Y'all keep on begging the devil for mercy, and the only thing the devil is qualified to give you is more hell. And y'all wonder why y'all catching hell, because y'all love it. Y'all love when black folks love when people mistreat us. We like the mistreat. We gluttons for punishment. We very sadistic people. Because I don't understand. You may, he called you roaches and jungle animals. What he said he didn't mean it. Well, nah, this is what he meant. I ain't gonna give y'all shit for it. We just love it. Just eat the shit and grin. We love that shit. We love it. Thank you, Delicia Smith. Appreciate you. We love you madly for your donation. It's some things. Thank you, Sister Patricia. And everybody's tuning in late at night. I didn't expect this thing to overflow like this, but it's all about teaching folks. We hate each other so much. I said I can't save nobody that don't love them. Why? Happiness is a choice. Why would I waste my years trying to save folks that don't want to love themselves? I gotta love myself enough to say I'm gonna step away. I'm gonna love you from a distance. I'm a social distance black love. I'm gonna do black love at a social distance, but I'll give you these lessons. I'll give you this information. I'll give it to you. And I can be balanced about it. But let me see. I need to close this out, man. I just be going. I didn't know it's gonna be almost 3 hours, man. Yeah, but I'm gonna play with Sister Shahrazad Ali. I had her on the show a couple of times. Sister Shahrazad or Shahrazad. Y'all know the lady with them hats from the 90s. I'm gonna play what she got to say about Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and I'm bringing another side. See, I'm about hiding the contradictions. Since I got y'all all here, let me just go ahead and teach this, because I be trying to tell people to read this stuff on their own. They don't do it.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, News-Free Dixie for the 21st century.
That's why everybody like to hear Malcolm and Minister Farrakhan speak rather than Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was all of our teachers. The greatest people that black people listen to or believe in were taught by Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, Shahrazad Ali, Wallace D. Muhammad. You name them. If they were great in this country for black people, they were taught by Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But because he didn't have that flair and showmanship that our people like,
Right.
We want the church experience. We want somebody to get up and get down, get funky, get loose, okay? And so since we want that, then we won't hear somebody that just come at us in the same voice and try to give us some information, because we've been programmed to want to be entertained. But as I said, my problem is now that Hidden Colors is starting to be entertainment. It just, like I say, they asked me, when is the next one coming out and all of that? I said, well, my question is just how much information you need, brother. What do you need another one for? Those 3 actually cover the whole history of the Negro in America.
Right. It's
something, that we just caught up in.
I look at, with Malcolm and Dr. King, you look at what happened, 50 years ago with Malcolm. There was a black church that actually had a dancing night that Malcolm got killed in the same place. Well, he had no understanding of what took place. He was Dr. King.
Here's the other thing. Malcolm didn't build nothing. Malcolm talked about what he was going to do. Malcolm didn't build nothing. He left the Nation of Islam, and that was his entire support system. And if Malcolm was alive today, 3/4 of black people wouldn't believe and go along with nothing Malcolm had, because the only thing Malcolm had was the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The only thing he changed up on is that he started believing that the white people was his friend and brother. But other than that, the only information Malcolm had was what he learned from the Army Elijah Muhammad. And our people was not going to go with that from Malcolm or nobody else. So
he didn't have enough time, though. I mean,
look at the hypocrisy in that. Everybody, Malcolm this, Malcolm that. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be with Malcolm.
But, it's funny when you bring up Malcolm, too. Also, that he talked about police brutality. The same stuff he talked about so many years ago is still the same way. Like, what's the good of all this knowledge when we quote Malcolm, but we're not willing to put our lives in line?
We have not made the kind of progress that we pretend we have made.
No, this is Shahrazad Ali. That's her opinion on Brother Malcolm. And also, I'm gonna talk with share you out with A. Peter Bailey, who worked with Malcolm on the organization of Afro-American Unity. The elder is still around, going strong. I hope he's doing well right now. He wrote a book about Malcolm being a master teacher. So my thing is to hide the contradictions. I'm gonna show you what Shahrazad Ali said, and a lot of people do feel like that way about Malcolm. And then I'm gonna share what A. Peter Bailey or Malcolm Mike got to say about it. I can find it. And I'll wrap it up soon.
We all be as proud to welcome A. Peter Bailey, fighting a true soldier to the cause, to share with us his insights about Brother Malcolm and also his new play coming out, Malcolm Martin Megger.
Yeah.
I got it right in the right, the MMM.
I did it alphabetically so no one can say that I put Brother Malcolm first.
You don't know bias, huh? No spin.
Bias,
Welcome. It's an honor to talk to you, sir. It's an honor to meet you. And I just want to get your insights. I know you just came recently back from Boston where they honored Brother Malcolm. In what way? What was happening in Boston?
Well, the home that he moved into when he moved to Boston at the age of 14 to be with his sister, Ella Little Collins, has now the Boston Preservation Trust, which is one of the major preservation groups in the entire country, and the National Preservation Trust, which is the national group, plus the mayor of Boston have all joined together, and they're going to make that home into a historical site. It's an old home. I didn't know till I got there this time. I'd been there before, but it was built in 1874. And the room that Brother Malcolm slept in when he was there is now being slept in by Arjun Collins, who is Rodnell Collins' son. Rodnell is Brother Malcolm's nephew, and Arjun is a great nephew. And Arjun, by the way, is going to be reading the role of his uncle, Brother Malcolm, in my play on June 23rd. So that's what it was all about. It was the city of Boston. The mayor was there, and several other big wigs, in the Boston area. And as I was saying before, they were there because they see this as an addition to Boston's tourism industry. Because even without any kind of official recognition, Rodnell said that people all day long, people are turning by taking pictures, in front of the house. Because, those who know, what it is, it's at 72 Dale Street in the Roxbury section of Boston.
Wow. So as the old adage says, it takes money to make money. So you're saying that they see like a potential cash cow, the city of Boston?
The city of Boston see it as an addition to their tourism industry. And of course, the mayor, he did his spiel about what a great person Brother Malcolm was. But I think that the main thing motivating him was like, hey, man, this is going to be now a part of Boston's, tourism thrust. And there are people who come from all over the country and sometimes the world to come to that because of its connection with Brother Malcolm.
That's amazing. I just want to think also, this is like Malcolm, I guess, got a facelift in terms of his legacy over the years from the mainstream perspective. I remember reading that speech that Ossie Davis did, the eulogy he did. and people not realizing that. I guess the New York Times article, the obituary they wrote in the New York Times about Brother Malcolm, like basically he was like a pariah or a troublemaker, or a miscreant, whatever. But now, I mean, he's on a postage stamp where they can lick him to death. You know what I'm saying? Basically, and also with the movie and things like that. You think Brother Malcolm will be surprised if he was live at how he's being received?
No, see what has happened is very interesting. One, by the way, I'm on the postage stamp. I don't like that at all as a Malcolmite, because I regard it as an attempt by the government to co-opt his image.
Right.
So I told people when it came out, don't send me no stamps, no letters with that stamp on it. I bought 10 just to put into my collection. I have a Malcolm X collection, but I never used it for letters or nothing like that. And I have, I was not a fan of the postage stamp. But what happened is that in 1990, which was going to be the 25th anniversary of the assassination, and that's when the talk had begun about Spike Lee doing this movie. So all of a sudden, the so-called mainstream press realized that the efforts to kind of write and drop Brother Malcolm out of history had not happened. I don't consider when people talk about how they were using terms like Malcolm X rediscovered. Well, that's simply, it may be to them, but for those of us who were Malcolmites all over this country, and this included thousands of people, every February 21st from 1965 up until 1990, when they jumped on the board, there was some kind of programs around memorializing Brother Malcolm on the anniversary of the assassination. On May 19, there were birthday celebrations all over the country. And this went on continuously. And I know this was going on because many times I was invited to speak at some of these events. So they rediscovered Brother Malcolm. It's like they said this Columbus discovered America.
Right.
They treated it as some kind of big deal because all of a sudden they got in on it. But all those years when we were doing things, they never covered them. They got notices about it, but they never covered. So I thought they were going to just write him out of history. And once they realized they weren't, now the effort is somehow kind of going for a period of time went the other way. They then tried to co-opt his image and his name. And I think they saw that was not working as well as they thought. So now they get behind, a debunking type thing like the Marable book, they get behind that and they give him, the big deal, and he gets the Pulitzer Prize and the whole works. But the whole idea is that the image of Brother Malcolm is not under their control. And there are enough of us around, and there are enough people, we've got enough information out there and enough people out there that they will never get complete control of his image.
And that was Baba A. Peter Bailey, a true Malcolmite. He was one of the founders, along with Malcolm, co-founders of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And Malcolm was assassinated, but A. Peter Bailey is a loyal soldier, to the legacy of Brother Malcolm. And thank you, Sister Denise, supporter We All Be, for tuning in with us, for hanging out. I am going strong, marathon man. I guess working out has its benefits. Like I said, been taking better care of myself recently. Taking my vitamins and supplements like I'm on Medicaid. Like I feel like an old man at 65 taking all these vitamins and supplements, but evidently it's working, and working out in the gym and stuff like that. And just taking time for myself, getting some peace of mind. Like Baba Dick Gregory would say, 3 things that killing people is lack of sleep, lack of exercise, and lack of water. So self-care is the best healthcare. It's prevention. So that was A. Peter Bailey. And then before there was Shahrazad Ali. A lot of people feel like Sister Shahrazad Ali is saying is correct, and that's okay. And that's okay. And what A. Peter Bailey is saying is okay. But you got to hide in the contradiction. I'm going to play what Baba Dick Gregory said about the disrespect to Malcolm's legacy. I mean, Dick Gregory has been on my mind a lot. He's been everywhere. It's like he ain't saying I told you so, but he's saying I told you so. But let me play what Baba Dick Gregory say about the disrespect of Malcolm. Like I said, I didn't expect this show to go this long. I thought I was going to do maybe a 90-minute show.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
And I also want to ask you this, I mean, was a dear friend of yours as well. Malcolm X, like I realized when I was down in Selma that he spoke at Brown Chapel on February 4th, 1965.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting this year, which is a very important year as far as the 50th of his death and also the 90th observation. His 90th year of birthday celebration is here live.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like he's being downplayed in the States versus overseas. Like they're having a
You sound like what?
Like he's being downplayed here versus like overseas, like Ireland and England and places like that. They got a festival for Malcolm X and stuff like that. And a lot of things have not really been focused on Malcolm here. I mean, CNN did that documentary recently around his the anniversary of his death. But it's like Malcolm is not really being received well here in the States by our people still.
Why would they? I mean, that's what the movie was about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had all heard that, you know, Malcolm read and all that, you know, the call and blue suits, but we had never seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we saw that in the movie, it just fucked people's mind up. After that, you didn't see no more symbols of Malcolm X. And then when they showed in the movie where he was getting his hair combed and the water was cut off, and he put his head down in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yes, sir, I remember that.
Well, in order for you to put your head down in the toilet for the water to get the top of your head, your nose go down first. You were drowned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what that was about. And then right after that, they came out with the FBI moving with the big green X. Remember?
Yes, sir.
All that's part of that, man.
It's great talking to you because I saw the movie Lucy recently, and the thing about it is people were very mad about the fact that it was a white woman playing the lead of Lucy, but it really wasn't about a white woman. It was about something bigger than that.
It was about what?
Like the movie Lucy wasn't really about no white woman named Lucy. It was bigger than that. I know the controversy.
It was about the brain. The brain has no fucking color.
Right, exactly. That's what I want to get to. And but people was focused on the color issue. But it's good to talk about like
this. Why wouldn't they be? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all they know. You know, that's all they know.
Yes, I get now what Bobby Dick Gregory, you know, like he would talk about sometimes, like if I told my mom this information, she'd put me in jail or send me to the crazy house. I understand that now because it's like it's a lonely journey. Truth seeking is very lonely existence, you know, especially now with this COVID world we live in. And really, you got to be a friend to yourself, be your greatest companion. My great company is me and myself and I. So I spend a lot of time by myself, or when I can allow myself that opportunity, and it'd be a lot of my mind. And a lot of times people don't want to spend time by themselves because you're forced to deal with yourself, face your traumas, your fears, your doubts. Just deal with yourself. Take some type of self inventory and reflect. And you know, a lot of people don't got that in them to do that. And I've really been thriving because I've really been taking inventory of what's going on with me. It's no fear, you know, like what the Bobby Dick Gregory said, God and fear cannot exist in the same space. You know, everything must come to an end. There's a season for everything. Like that song, George Benson, everything must change. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. So everything will change. But the thing about it is try to adapt as best you can to a new reality, and also learn to let go of the things you cannot control. There are things you can control, and then there are things you cannot control. But a lot of times, many of us focus too much on the things that are out of our hand. But there are things that you can do to reclaim the narrative, to reclaim your space, to reclaim some sanity and peace of mind. So focus on those things the best you can. So I don't know. I think there's enough. I mean, I'm coming through the 3 hour mark. This is ridiculous. But I'm trying to get this point, man. Stop believing this stuff about Malcolm. They've been trying for decades to destroy the legacy and the image of Malcolm X. But like Malcolm said, he said that the Negro Revolution is controlled by the white foxy liberal and the government. I'm paraphrasing. He said the Negro Revolution is controlled by the white foxy liberals and the government, but the Black Revolution is controlled by God. Y'all remember that we are spiritual people. We are the universal people. We are the chosen few people. You know, people tell me, well, you know, you hate Jews. Somebody say I was Jew bashing. I say, how am I gonna hate myself? So, yeah, I mean, love yourself. If you can't love nobody else, love yourself. That's what I'm saying. Choose you. You know, choose you. That's why I'm learning. Ain't nothing I can do for other people because people just hate themselves, and I be giving the best of me, and people just said, "The hell with that, brother Ron. We don't want this bullshit. We want Bitcoin. We want LeBron James. We want football, baby, pork rinds and everything. Forget what you offering, brother." I'm gonna love myself now. I'm gonna choose myself because when I can love myself better, I can love other people better. I can do right by other people because this is how it works. But I'm trying to see. Is there anything I want to play right now? I can say, oh yeah, brother Roland Shepard, this white guy. I interviewed him. He was actually there when Malcolm got assassinated at Audubon. He also was there when Alice and Dick Gregory met for the first time, or one of the first times they met. Like I said, the movie did not get Malcolm wrong about celebrities. I mean, like he had celebrity friends. Like I said, he was good friends with Red Fox when they were washing dishes at Jimmy's Chicken Shack, and he smoked reefer with Billie Holiday and even played jazz drums. And also, Malcolm learned how to do public speaking from listening to Paul Robeson, the great singer and actor, who also was an activist who could speak over 20 different languages fluently. Was a human rights activist who was punished by the government as well. They crucified Paul Robeson. They gave Malcolm X and Dr. King mercy killings, but they crucified Brother Paul. So he was 80 years young. But Roland was there, and he was interviewed for the Netflix documentary, but they did not include his interview because he actually saw the alleged gunman. You know, in the movie Malcolm X, the dude that walked down the aisle with the long rifle, William Bradley, who just passed away in Newark, who was a pillar of the community. That William Bradley, who went to a high school that's now known as Malcolm X High School of all names. Yeah, the one that dude said he was trying to confront that ended up passing away before he could confront him. Roland Shepard went to report what he saw to a precinct. Then he said when he saw that dude walking out the police precinct to take a smoke break, the police came to him and asked, "Sir, you say you saw what happened at the Audubon. Tell us what you saw." He told the police, "I can't remember shit," and walked away. Because then he knew. What time it was. Because Malcolm's chief bodyguard, Eugene Roberts, was undercover police, NYPD, was part of that Bossy program. He was the same dude that set up Tupac's mom, Afeni Shakur, and the Panther 21. So that was Malcolm X's chief bodyguard, the dude that was trying to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation with holes in his chest. That dude, yeah. The one that's supposed to have been checking folks for guns, but they ain't checking nobody that day for whatever reason. No, that guy, Eugene Roberts. But man, it's a dirty game, man. It's a dirty game. Let me play what Roland Shepard had to say. Roland Shepard's still around, but they include his interview in that documentary I went crazy on Netflix by a Muslim brother. So let me play this. This is a short clip. It won't bore y'all too much.
Brother Roland, are you there?
Yeah.
We're proud to have on once again Brother Roland Shepard, one of the last living witnesses of the execution, the crucifixion of Brother Malcolm X on February 21st, 1965 at the Audubon Ballroom, and also a journalist and promoted the militant, right? The socialist militant. Is that correct?
I was
at that time, I was associated with the Socialist Workers Party at the time in the early 60s in New York, and I was selling their paper, The Militant.
All right, cool. I was making sure I don't want to get wrong with the other people that didn't like Malcolm. We'll talk about that later on. So it's an honor to have you on once again, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
And before we get too deep into the Malcolm X assassination, what you know, and all the stuff that needs to be talked about, I'd like to talk to you about the first time. Can you tell us about the first time you met Dick Gregory in terms of Malcolm X?
Well, he was at the Audubon Ballroom, and Malcolm was talking about people people that were in the audience, and he says, and because Dick Gregory had just written the book Nigger, and which he said to his mother, whenever you hear that word, you know they're advertising my book. Malcolm said, and now I'd like to introduce my favorite nigger, and he says, Dick Gregory. And Dick Gregory, come on up here. And they were friendly on the stage, and Dick Gregory talked, and he asked, gave the mic to Dick Gregory. And Dick Gregory said, Malcolm, a lot of what you say I agree with. But, as far as giving up my chitlins, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give up my ham hocks. I'm not going to do that. He just made it laughing. It was kind of funny. It was good-natured humor.
Yeah, they probably censor Dick Gregory today and Malcolm. They will not even be able to get on Parler. Maybe Clubhouse. They give them a Clubhouse app. It's just ridiculous what's going on in these times. But I supposed to be doing a movie review on One Night in Miami, and we talked about that. Y'all should go support it and see it. But it'll be nice if I could get Jim Brown on the show to get his point of view, just to talk and his thought, because he's the only one still alive. All them other guys are dead. It's fictionalized, but it made me realize why we don't have those type of men anymore in the public eye. You can't name me one black celebrity, one black male celebrity that got those type of balls that them brothers had back in the day. You can't name one. I can't think of one. I can't think of one black celebrity that had those type of cojones like them brothers had. Jim Brown said F you NFL and walked away in his prime at 29. Jim Brown was trying to come back in the 1980s when he thought Franco Harris was going to get his record, his Russian record. He said, hell no. Jim Brown, man, I'm going to tell you something. Jim Brown, Wilt Chamberlain, ain't no athletes. I mean, there's other world, but yet they don't get the respect because we live in this age of just short attention spans and highlights. Because a lot of Jim Brown's football game, they lost the history in terms of the highlights. I don't think they have any complete football games of him actually playing football. But look at the highlights, how he's running over people. Look at Wilt Chamberlain. There's no film footage of him scoring 100 points, so people think, oh, that's crazy. Wilt Chamberlain was phenomenal. Just gifted. Wilt Chamberlain can even sing. He did a couple of albums back in the day, or a couple of songs. Wilt Chamberlain actually sung. Jim Brown, very Renaissance man. But like Raquel Welch said, the reason why Jim Brown's not a great actor because he's too much of a man. You ain't gonna put no Jim Brown in no dress. When they even had Mars Attack, that movie that came out, I love Mars Attack because guess what? Somebody gonna be attacking us very soon. They keep on talking about aliens and UFOs and shit with CIA. They know that they are already here, and we about to get a wake up call. But what I'm saying is, even Jim Brown, the aliens didn't want to zap Jim Brown. They wanted to box Jim Brown. This man's too much of a man. He's the most manliest person on the planet. We got to give him the respect of not zapping his ass, but boxing with us. Jim Brown, a man. There's no look. I can't think of no cats even playing football that's on that level. Jim Brown said, F you, Art Modell. He said, fuck you. He just said, I don't care. Colin Kaepernick kneeling down, begging, "Oh, master, please give me another shot at quote the quarterback. Master, please. I'll be a good little light-skinned mulatto boy." And also with the color thing. I think what it is an anger that you can't fit in. It's like being Jimi Hendrix. You're too white for black people. You're too black for white people, but yet when you have a concert, everybody's there. So what the hell going on? If I'm not accepted, how come everybody keep on showing up? Jimi Hendrix gave a lot of money to the Black Panther Party. That's why they killed Jimi Hendrix. Because the government didn't want his music to have an influence in helping organize Black revolution. And that's what y'all still gonna get. Sam Cooke, greatest song. What? Change Gonna Come. I love You Send Me. I love Chain Gang. Heaven the Party. I love all that shit. I love it. But when you hear that song, you know what that song's already about. Ain't about shaking your ass and shake your ass and watch yourself. No, it's about watch out. Here we come. Ain't no stopping us now. We on the move. It's about some black power. See, they killed him right. They knew what Sam Cooke was about. Sam Cooke had no fear. He stood down the mob, white police officers in the South. He didn't care. But he loved black people. He loved himself. He didn't get his hair conked. He had that little mini fro. Jackie Wilson got his shit, Mr. Excitement, got his stuff all conked out. Right? Now, I love Jackie Wilson because his Danny Boy, nobody does Danny Boy better than Jackie Wilson. And guess who his favorite entertainer of all time was? Al Jolson. Mammy. Jewish dude in blackface. That's his favorite entertainer, Al Jolson. Robert Johnson's favorite singer was Bing Crosby. I think Bobby Blue Bland's favorite singer was Perry Como. Hello. So we don't know who we are. So see the movie. It's not historical fact. It's historical fiction. But it is what it is. Because ain't that amazing that the fact that 4 goats, these are legitimate goats. This ain't no, oh man, we don't know. How you gonna argue against Sam Cooke or Muhammad Ali or Jim Brown or Malcolm X? These guys, we were great black men, masculine, not effeminate. They knew they were men and they were willing to fight, live, and die as men. Now this BS. See, the problem with us is a lot of us afraid to die. Because white people like the Harlem Renaissance. They could be your patrons and supporters, but you got to screw them. They want to screw you. So you got no white allies. We only got family. We got to be our best friends. And like Dr. John Henry Clark said, if the person staring back at you from the mirror ain't your friend, then you don't have no friends. Black folks, stop looking for white folks to bail you. A lot of times, they the reason why we in the position we in. We allow ourselves to keep on getting tricked and not treated. We have not been treated in a long, long time. And we forget that we taught them everything they knew and know. Everything they know come from us. But what they do is they use it against us. It's like if you're a parent that took care of your kid, and then when you get older, your kids show you the ultimate disrespect by disrespecting you, starving you out, putting you in a home where they mistreat you and stuff like that. When you've been wipe their ass, they won't wipe your ass when you old, but you wipe their ass when they were young. You wipe their nose when they were young. And this is what white folks doing to black people because black folks don't know who they are. Like the great Randy Weston used to tell me, the great jazz genius, and I loved Dr. Randy Weston. He said, "Ron, America is Africa." Yeah, I ain't talking about people go, "Oh man, we indigenous." Okay, but what he's saying is that our people, everywhere we went, we the original people, right? So Africa is Africa, Africa is America. Look, black folks already been here, right? I love Jimmy Lunsford. He knew he was indigenous. Why would he name his first group the Chickasaw Syncopators? He knew who his people are. They own all that land to this day down in Mississippi. So what I'm saying is we fight over the wrong bullshit and we worry about God. I don't care. God bless Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan. Long life, prosper. It don't have nothing to do with my reality. Y'all got to start asking these questions. How is it that we have these economic turndowns and all this stuff, yet billionaires are making racket profits? How come they destroying small businesses, but yet corporations get corporate welfare? They're getting all types of money. Steakhouses, Walmart, Amazon. How is Elon Musk able to make money when everybody else is suffering. He's able to just jerk off money into space with his joy rides in space, allegedly. So this is the thing. Y'all gonna have to decide, do y'all want freedom or y'all want white friends? Dr. King said we integrate into a burning house. Y'all more loyal than dogs to white people. Like I told Dr. Short, and I love Dr. Short. Go to his channel, Randy Short. I said, Dr. Short, when you tell me to treat you white, I'm treating you white. I don't want to deal with white people like that because I've been traumatized dealing with white people. I'm not the nigga from the South that want to be around white folks all day and smile. Zippity doo dah, zippity day. My oh my, what a wonderful day. I'm not that Negro no more. I can't do it. I'm 40 years old. I can't do that no more. I'm not going to make them comfortable while I'm always uncomfortable being around them. I can't do it. But yeah, I could deal with white people. They ain't the point. I could deal with individuals. It's when that group, see, they get you when they're in that group. Cowards like to hide in groups. That's how you look at the lynch mobs. Every day they could be the mailman, the milkman, the postman. I mean, like, oh, the preacher or the doctor or lawyer. But the Klan comes out at night. The Klan comes out at night. The mob comes out at night. Mob come out. The mob comes out at night. Okay. But I don't care about no football. I don't understand. You Negroes, I mean, some smart people, yet these same Negroes that vote Democrat and they got the best jobs and they, Brother Run, man, it's a shame, man. Power to the people, Brother Run. Power to the people. Look at you, brother. How they were doing Malcolm in the movie. Malcolm, you don't got no job. Tommy, you don't got a job. Malcolm gave up comfort because his people were uncomfortable. Paul Robeson gave up a profitable career in song, dance, and movies because the majority of his people were suffering. How can I enjoy shit when you always begging me for shit? How can I be out here, you motherfucker in my face? Why? Damn it, man. Like, even like I'm in Memphis. You know, black women, y'all, black brothers, what the hell, man? I go to the gas station, dude begging me for $5 for a chicken dinner or for some liquor or something, but you know, I try to give my people what I can, but I said, brother, this is a fight, man. It's a fight to be a man, be a black man. You got to fight for your masculinity. You got to protect that. You know, how am I gonna protect a black woman? I can't protect my ass or my balls. Shit, let me protect these. Got to lose some because like the sisters, it's all this. You know, they say, well, a lot of dudes go to white women. A lot of brothers ain't checking for white women like that. A lot of sisters checking. I know I went to school with a lot of squirrelers. They got their mixed kids. They ain't talking about on me on Facebook. Talking about, I don't want to tell my son, well, why you lay down with their daddy? They daddy racist. He ain't trying to protect his son. Why is the daddy ain't trying to give us privilege to protect his squirrel son, but to protect his mixed breed, his mutt? Why haven't the father gave up his privilege, his white privilege, and in this system to protect his seeds? I remember a co-worker of mine, he talking about, you know, his daughter married a white man. And the white man's a truck driver. He's a big fan of Rush Limbaugh. I don't care for Rush Limbaugh, whatever. But he said when he come on the weekends, when he be visiting with them, he'll make these very insensitive racial jokes about black people. So then one day my friend had to pull out the birth certificates of these guys' children and said, what do they say on their birth certificate, Jim? They don't say white, it say nigga. And I said black. So he stopped making those jokes. See, white folks think it's funny. Our pain is their pleasure. It's their entertainment. And y'all just don't get it. Y'all keep on begging these folks, look, you killed my son. Well, tough shit, man. Tough shit. Get over it. But they talking about, this election, it's the greatest death in history. No, it's not. White folks, y'all so melodramatic with the bullshit. This ain't the greatest death in history. Not by any means. Y'all always steal. Joe Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy clan, said it's not a crime unless you get caught. It's not a crime unless you get caught. That's Mr. Inside Trader. You know, they were doing their little Bitcoin hustle back in the day during 1929. And, you know, FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, made Joe Kennedy the first chairman of the Security Exchange Commission, which regulates Wall Street. And guess what was the first thing traded on Wall Street? Black people. We always been America's commodity. More commodity than citizen. More commodity than human. Because what did they call us during the Civil War when we left the plantation and following Sherman's army? We contraband. We're not even human beings. We contraband. We just property. Contraband. Man. So when FDR was told by his inner circle, why would you appoint Joe Kennedy? He's a known crook. And FDR said, well, it takes a crook to catch a crook. See, Donald Trump been like Daniel in the lion's den. He got all these crooks, and y'all think he's the crookedest person, but he's actually over his head because he realized how corrupt everything is. He thought he was corrupt. He said the game was rigged. He never said it was not rigged in his favor, but y'all get overly emotional. It's like y'all treat y'all politics like I treat y'all sports and church and comfort food. Nobody takes black folks seriously because we don't take ourselves seriously. We don't study. Like I said, I'm going to end it now, but people upset about how Malcolm is portrayed in some movie, which is a form of propaganda. They've been trying to character assassinate Malcolm for decades. It has not worked because we got evidence of the real Malcolm. Just listen to his speeches. A couple of speeches y'all should listen to in its entirety is number one is Prospects for Freedom. One of the last speeches he gave in his life, he gave on January 7, 1965. Listen to that speech and see what's going on now. Malcolm telling you what's happening now. Because the reason why it's still relevant, because black folks, we too chicken shit as a people to really change our condition. We still just want to be liked instead of love ourselves. We want somebody else to like us instead of us, love ourselves, to do something about our condition. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt said, you only make me feel inferior with my consent. We allow these folks to mistreat us and treat us worse than animals because we don't understand our own self-worth or have any self-value that we could overstand and access as a people, because you allow other people to dictate terms of your existence and how high you can rise in society. How is it that y'all love football? The most powerful people in football are not the strongest people that are playing the football, but the people up in the damn VIP sections, up in the owner's box. They don't have no, a lot of these folks don't have no muscle tone, but yet they control everything. So it's not about the physical, it's about the mental. You got people thinking Nick Saban is a goddamn genius. All he doing telling, run that ball, boy, run that ball, run it hard, run it fast, run that ball. See, you know, we nothing but gladiators for their game. It's a blood sport. Life is a blood sport for us. We nothing but gladiators. They talked about it in that movie. We're just gladiators. Muhammad Ali, see, the white folks didn't care. You could be a court jester and a clown, Muhammad, but stay away from politics and religion. See, they was okay with it. Why is that when Muhammad Ali changed his name to Muhammad Ali and he got with the nation, that's when he started having a problem with the draft board. See, the white boys kept the draft board away from the Louisville group. And what they didn't talk about in the movie was a black woman that negotiated Muhammad Ali's first professional contract with the Louisville group, Sister Alberta Odell Jones, that I talked about on this show several times. I even did a show about her, and you Negroes always talking about Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland, but we ain't doing nothing for them. Sandra Bland is still dead. Breonna Taylor is still dead. Everybody, George Floyd, all these folks, we ain't doing nothing but, oh, look at us. White folks, why y'all don't care about us? Why y'all don't care? Because you don't care about yourself, because people with self-respect would not be doing the things we have been doing for the last several years and decades, dare I say, or generations. That's why white folks say we not niggas, but they are niggas. They don't know it yet, but they're about to find out they niggas. Majority of the world are niggas. You know, there's no way, you know, people, millions of unemployment or unemployed people facing evictions and stuff, and yet billionaires have made a profit. People talking about the NBA lost money. No, Steve Ballmer, who owned the Clippers, made record profits. Billionaires are winning. The losers are everyday people. See, you gotta understand, sports is like politics. Some people may win, but the majority always loses. See, y'all talking about we lost. Nigga, y'all didn't lost. You lost if you bet money on these fools, because those clowns, they get paid whether they win, lose, or draw. They getting paid regardless. I don't feel sorry for no millionaire playing a kids game. Oh man, we all y'all see that y'all want to not live your life. Live your life. Make your life the movie you want. Make your life the sport you want to see and compete in. Damn, you worry about some Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Lamar Jackson. Oh, Deshaun Watson. Okay, Deshaun Watson, wherever he go, is he going to change your life? Is Deshaun Watson going to save the black community by playing football? Fool's ball. Come on, man. Run that ball, boy. Run that ball. D-I-E-I-O. This is crazy. The black folks, we in for a wake-up call. Y'all think y'all get some bailout. This a killing machine. This purge season, man. You mean after all the stuff that we went through last year, y'all still care about sports? Y'all still care about Grammys and Emmys and not getting the Oscar? Nothing. Halle Berry talking foolishness. Woman, you won that Oscar because Billy Bob Thornton rammed it in you. I'm surprised that y'all still think that white folks' acceptance is the ultimate validation. Care about the white folks' acceptance. I want to love myself. I don't care about y'all accepting me. I want to love myself. I don't care. I'm 40 years old now. Yeah. When I was 22 or 30, maybe. I might have cared a little bit. Now I'm in a different place in my life. I was thinking about that tonight as I was driving. I said, you know what? Maybe I should get a dog or a cat. Because I don't know, man. It's hard to talk with people. Man, I can do it, but I put so much into relationships. Sometimes you just don't want to do nothing. I'm just going to put more into myself now. Yeah, because they did like Elijah Muhammad. They didn't believe in Cassius like Malcolm did. I think Malcolm was very sincere about wanting the best for Cassius. Malcolm is interesting to me. It's a bunch of contradictions. Like I said, he talked about the weaponized celebrities, but yet he hanged around them a lot. He was friends with celebrities. He was even a celebrity in his own way. And that caused the jealousy to come out with the nation. He started a newspaper, Muhammad Speaks, that they wouldn't even publish his articles at the end. He started that newspaper. He organized, he grew the nation. Folks that he brought into the nation when they were at lowest point in life, they turned their backs on him, like Captain Joseph X, who's over the Fruit of Islam at Mosque Number 7, who, when you look at that documentary from the 90s, he still had hatred for Malcolm. He still had hatred for Malcolm, even though Malcolm helped change his life. Malcolm just couldn't read people well. I don't know what it was. He was a street guy. He was a hustler, but yet the people closest to him, he couldn't read well for whatever reason. And that got him done in. Even his own family. That's ultimate betrayal. Tauruses, man, we love hard. We loyal to a fault, and that costs us. Like, you look at Master P, like his brother, he did all that stuff for his brother for over the years, but yet, Monica and Kim Kardashian come along, and his brother said, you ain't doing enough for me. I don't know all of it, but Master P, like, he one of them guys you want in your corner, man. He's a Taurus. He was born April 29th, like Duke Ellington. So I'm a Taurus, man. I know how he is, man. You do things for people. Now I'm at the point, I'm older now. You don't have to thank me. You know what I'm saying? People like, they don't want to thank you. People like, hey, I said, I can't worry about that, man. Because once you do it, you just do it. You don't do it. A lot of times you do things because of your moral conscience and your code. You're not doing it for validation or people that just like say thank you, man. It is what it is. I ain't looking for that. I'm at a different place in my life. Like I tell dudes, the young guys coming up, the guys that doing their shows and stuff. Look, man, y'all need to get out that space about trying to get people to see it your way, because you're gonna be angry and frustrated and bitter if you go their approach. Like Baba Dick Gregory said, once you put those magic glasses on, you can't take them out and you can't make people see what you see. So make your peace with that. I have made my peace that, it's a lonely existence. It is, but be a friend to myself. Be kind, loving, forgiving, and patient with myself so I can practice that with other people. That's the key. That's how you can stay lovable. You can stay a joy to be around, all that stuff when it's time to do that. But be a friend. Be an advocate for yourself. Don't neglect yourself. People talking about, well, he always put people first, or she always put people first. That's why they not here no more. That's why they die early death, because they always putting folks first. They don't even want to put their own selves first. So you're like the blind leading the blind and the drowning trying to help the drowning. We both can't swim and we drowning trying to call ourselves helping it. You know, we got to stop this insanity and just stop it and just do some, take some, look inside, look within. It's inside of you. Access that, manifest it, actualize it, realize it. But everything starts with you, inside of you. And people make fun and be the change you want to see. Yeah, you got to be the change, because if you try to start on the outside trying to do this, it'll drain you. Like, I remember when I was substitute teaching, look at the young teachers starting out. They run around screaming and just being this, man, you ain't going to last as long as a teacher screaming and fussing and running around raging. You ain't going to last. You're going to burn out. You got to take a different approach to this stuff. And like right now, I'm taking a different approach to it. Look, you don't have to see it my way, but I would like, if you can you just be tolerant that I have a different point of view and not disrespect me because my viewpoint don't align with yours? Like, I give you the respect, but I found it's the older people that can't adapt. So you go the way of the dinosaurs. Because, like, why are you mad at me when you run the fool's errand? Like, if you 70-something years old and all you did was vote Democrat and you still ain't worth, and you begging them for a little bit of money because you can't afford your medicine, and then you say I'm stupid or retarded for looking at it a different way, then how is it my fault? You run the fool's errand. You live in the fool's paradise, and you're going to pay the price for that. So, yeah, Malcolm did. But like I said, we Tauruses, man, we know how to push stuff to it manifest. So, like I said, speaking of pushing, it's almost going into 4 hours. Thank y'all. I did review the movie, I think. I think I thought about the movie. Oh, God. Go see it, and you have your own opinion. But I thought I was going to be here like 90 minutes at the most. Not all the old folks, but enough of them where you say, you know what? The purge season is here. This is biblical times we're living in. Biblical times. You know, biblical times. And I made my peace, man. Y'all, it's like when you make your peace, it's like, man, I made my peace, man. I love my people, but a lot of us gonna lose. Yeah, I should be a millionaire. Maybe I might be one. It's not too late. But being a millionaire is like, is equivalent of making $50,000 a year now. Because people try to be trillionaires now. But I'm not complaining. It's a reset. It's an awakening. But a lot of us gonna be lost, man. And I don't mind losing dead weight. Because people clogging up the system. And that's the thing. I think about that too. I said, how long I want to live? Because they really don't respect older people. They trying to kill people now to keep them from paying out Social Security. I told my uncle that. I said, you in your early 60s, but yeah, you keep on smoking all these cigarettes every day because you're bored with life. You smoking and drinking and stuff. You need surgery on your hips and stuff. And you're doing yourself a disservice because you paid into the system for 30, 40 years as a hardworking individual. And you deserve to reap the benefits of your rewards, but they basically spoon feeding you your benefits, hoping that you kill yourself, and you playing into their hands. You said, "Well, I don't judge." So shit, But I'm saying, man, that's how they do us. And why should they do different? And we keep on accepting that, and we teach our children to accept that. We say they evil, but are we really the real evil? Like, how you gonna call them evil for using drones to kill people overseas when we're paying taxes on them and using our money for the military? They using our taxpayer dollars to build these bombs and drones to kill people. And then oh my God, they attacked us. Why? Tell them that is human nature. Tell them that is evil by nature. All right? So you got to stop this woe is me bullshit. It's like, I'm in the gym. Look, I'm working out. I can feel sorry for myself, but I'm not. What's the point of feeling sorry for myself? Life ain't that long anyway, whether you live to be 30 years old or 105 years old. Life really ain't that long. So why are you going to spend most of your time feeling sorry for yourself? Abraham Lincoln said happiness is a choice. Y'all trying to look at happiness in sports and other people, but everything lies within you. That's what I'm learning. I just can't, people want to say, why you didn't call so-and-so? I said, why don't so-and-so call me? But better yet, Why should I worry about somebody else making decisions, whatever they want to make, whether it be a decision or no decision? Why should it be my concern? It should not be my concern. My only concern should be I want to be the best version of myself for me. Because by me doing it for me, it benefit other people. Trust me. Just like me taking better care of myself, I can do more shows. I can be in a better mood. I create better things. You know, that's how that works. But thank y'all for receiving it. I know I'm along with it. And thank y'all for receiving it. I'll thank everybody for staying up with me. I'm gonna take a break now. All them Dick Gregory cussing sessions did something. And thank you to the brother Mike. I got your thank you for the donation, brother Mike. And yeah, I remember you from the Dick Gregory show at the Helium Club in St. Louis. I know you listened to it. It's long show, but I'm gonna reach out to you as well. Thank you for remembering me. Yeah, he cursed me out real good before that show. For that second set. I mean, really, if I was the person I was, a lesser person would have cried and just ran away and cursed him out and just, you know, I don't know. But Dick, he came up and I like nothing happened to my. I don't know what it is, man. I think we the best buddies. Then I think you an agent. Because Maxine Wilder said some bullshit, but I would say that for my book and the movie. And also, I may have saved Dick Gregory's life that night. I would say that for my book and movie. But yeah, I love Dick, man. I love Dick Gregory. Yeah, he loved Dick. I love Dick Gregory. Hey, come on. I love my Dick. I love my Dick. Though I'm trying to take better care of it. So it'll be a service when the time comes. But and like he said, he tell me I need to tell y'all more stuff. So I'm gonna tell y'all more stuff. Thank y'all for listening. It's been very therapeutic for me. But go see One Night in Miami. This movie ain't even that long compared to this review I did. But I had to tell you about Malcolm, though. Malcolm, man, y'all just, man, go listen to, like I said, listen to Prospects for Freedom, listen to Message to the Grassroots, and whatever Malcolm got to say. Don't let these folks tell you Malcolm was weak. Malcolm was strong. Malcolm had his issues like anybody else. He was a human being. He had his flaws, but one thing about Malcolm, from what I can gather, he was an honest person. He was honest, and he could admit when he was wrong. And so, thank y'all for spending time. Y'all know how to support. Y'all can do the Cash App or $ R2C2H2, Google Pay, PayPal, Zelle, R2C2H2 at gmail.com, Vimo at R2C2H2. Also, you can buy Artemis Art. Thank y'all for buying the artwork, R2C2H2.com. And also for people that's buying shirts, this Billie Holiday, my man, he's my man. I did all that work. So I want to thank everybody that's been supporting. They've been coming in handy lately. Hustling and flowing in Memphis, Tennessee. But I got some more shows for you. I'm going to do a movie review on American Skin. It's not going to be almost 4 hours long. But thank y'all. Thanks, Sister Denise. Thank Black God, Robert Harlan, Signs of the Times, Delisha Smith, baby. Wayne Robin. All y'all up in the chats, man. I appreciate it. Bantu, brother. Bantu, thank you. Kim Clark, Sister Denise, and MOQ9. I don't want to mess that up. You know who you are. And everybody else has been tuning in. Rapping Magazine, Rep Your City, Indigenous, America, Leo. Call me now. Okay. I'm about to set it down. Thank y'all so much. In the words of Great Duke Ellington, we love you. Madly. Keep on producing and pushing. We'll be back soon. Be one and be you. To thy own self, be one and be you and be true.